27-year-old Kimberly Ham and her father, Richard, are suing the father of her children, Mac Barrett, for stealing her minivan and totaling it while driving drunk.
Quiet in the courtroom. Yeah, it's case number 391 on the calendar in the matter of Ham versus Barrett. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated.
Your last name is?
Ham.
Mr. Ham, you can have a seat, please, because you have no personal knowledge of this, even though you co-signed for your daughter for a loan on this car that's still being paid off. But she knows what's going on here. You may be impacted, but you have no first-hand knowledge. Correct?
Yes.
Okay. Ms. Ham, this used to be your boyfriend.
That's right.
And you have 2 children together.
That's correct.
Your last child with him was born in 2004.
That's right.
It is your claim that he took your car without permission on the day that your last child was born, and he wrecked it.
That's right.
You want him to pay for the damage to the car because your father co-signed for the car. You're still paying off the car. The car was totaled. Is that correct?
Right, that's correct.
And the insurance company disclaimed because he did not have a driver's license.
That's right.
And Mr. Barrett says that you have to really take that up with your insurance company.
Yes.
Insurance company should not have disclaimed. But there are some facts that are sort of interesting. You say he took your car without your permission.
That's right.
I'm not sure I believe that. Not that that's necessarily dispositive of what happens here today, but I like the truth right from the beginning.
Okay.
The 2 of you were living together.
On and off, yes.
You were living together. You had 2 children together. You were living together.
At that time, yes.
All right. And at the time that you went to the hospital, who drove you to the hospital?
Mac.
There we go. So he had your permission to drive your car.
To the hospital.
He had your permission to drive your car.
At that point.
Now, Miss Ham, the day before he went to work, is that right?
Yes.
And how did he get to work?
His vehicle, or the vehicle he drove, which was a 95 Escort.
Didn't take your car?
No.
Never took your car?
No.
Is that right, sir?
No.
Of course it's not.
It is correct.
No.
The only 2 times he drove it was when I was in the vehicle with him. He's never taken it ever by himself prior to that date. Ever.
Is that right, Mr. Barrett?
No.
Of course not. When you share a bed together, you share 2 children together, I don't believe, as I said, it's not necessarily dispositive, but I don't like fibbers.
Oh, I'm not fibbing.
I don't like fibbers. But even so, you gave him permission, you gave him the keys to take you to the hospital that day, and he drove your car. Later on, Mr. Barrett decided to take the car out again. Is that right, sir?
Yes.
How did you expect the car to get from the hospital back home?
Well, my dad arranged to watch our children because he was going to stay in the hospital the entire time and drive me home. Me and the baby.
You mean he was going to stay there overnight?
Right, the entire time.
Wasn't going to go out to eat?
He wasn't going to go to work.
He wasn't going to go to work, wasn't going to go to eat,
No.
wasn't going, but so he took it. Also, don't believe that.
Well, I'm sorry, that's the point. He left me there without a car seat for my child.
Listen to me. The only problem that I have with your testimony, Miss Ham, is that I don't like when you start out not telling me the truth. And the truth is, he took the car to the hospital, he drove you to the hospital, he had your permission to take the car, he had the keys to the car with your permission, and then he took the car out again. What happened after that is his fault. But don't start out telling a judge not the whole truth, because then we begin to hold suspect everything that you say. Do you understand?
I understand.
Good. I understand that you want your money. Lying is not the way to get it.
I don't feel that I'm lying.
Well, you are. Because he had permission to drive your car, and your complaint said he had no permission. He had your permission to drive the car, and it wasn't limited to just taking you to the hospital, because when you're in labor going to the hospital, you didn't say to him, you only have permission to drive me to the hospital and drop me off there. You may not take the car out again for any other, because that doesn't work. Not when you're going to deliver a baby.
He's lying when he says he's drove my van. He never has.
I don't
he had
believe
a
that.
95 Escort that he drove.
I don't believe it. I don't believe that during the time you had the car, you didn't need the car once in a while when his car wasn't working, when his car was in repair. He drove your car, he drove you and your child in the car out for other things. When was your license suspended, sir?
8 days prior.
What was it suspended for?
A previous accident that someone had sued me, and I didn't realize that if you didn't pay a debt that was involved in an accident, it was like $500 that they could take your license in our state.
And how were you notified that they took your license?
By mail.
Who opened the mail?
I believe I did.
Did you tell Miss Ham that your license was suspended?
Yes, she knew.
No, that's not what I asked you. I said, did you tell her?
Yes, I told her.
Okay, so at the time she gave you the keys to the car to drive you to the hospital, according to you, she knew that your license was suspended.
Yes, we was trying to figure out, because I was calling from the hospital trying to figure out why they were suspended, because I still wasn't for sure why.
Okay. Now we get to what's your fault. So you took her to the hospital, your baby was born. When did you decide to go drinking?
After I left work.
The next day?
No. We was at the hospital all day, and I left from the hospital. I was there all that day, and then I left from the hospital to go to work that evening.
Had the baby been born yet?
Yes.
Did you say goodbye to her?
Oh, yeah.
Right. And you only had one car at the hospital?
Yes.
Said goodbye, you looked at the baby, played coochie-coo?
Yes.
So after work, instead of going back to the hospital, you decided to go get drunk. And you got drunk, and you drove the car, and you were in an accident?
Yes.
And you spent the next 18 months in jail?
Yes.
So that answers my next question, which is why it took so long for you to get here to file your claim. But do you understand what I mean, Miss Ham, when you start out by telling a fib?
I mean, I understand.
You
I
understand? Good. So he went to work. There's no question in my mind that he stayed with you in the hospital till the baby was born, and then he came to say goodbye, that he was going out, that he said goodbye to you, so you knew he wasn't going out by foot. You knew he was taking the car. Got it?
Yes.
Perfect.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She didn't get you down on the floor before you left the hospital and open up your mouth, hold your nose, and pour down a bottle of Grey Goose down your throat, did she?
I prefer Absolute, but no.
And later today,
Are you both nuts? Are you really both crazy? It would never dawn on me over this kind of thing to sue a child.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Kimberly Ham says the father of her children, Mac Barrett, had no driver's license when he stole her minivan and crashed it. Mac claims Kimberly gave him permission to drive it.
Yeah. I want you to show me proof that the insurance company disclaimed on this claim when he totaled the car. They disclaimed on the ground that you didn't have a valid driver's license.
Also, when I got home from the hospital, I had to stay at my dad's for a day because he had the only set of keys, which were mine, that had our apartment key on there, and I couldn't get into our apartment. And then I checked the mail. That's when I found the suspended license validation in the mail.
So the insurance company declined coverage, and the policyholder was you.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, your own insurance company declined your policy, sir, on the car that's in her name.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Car has to be in both your names in order for you to have an insurable interest in it. Can I see the title to the car, please?
We don't have the title. It's not paid off. I'm still making payments on it and not being able to drive it.
I'm just surprised that the insurance company allowed him to insure the car if he had no insurable interest in the car. I'm going back to my Insurance 101 in law school. Okay. Now, Mr. Barrett.
Yes.
You want to explain to me why you think that you have no responsibility with regard to this car that she's still paying off that cost $17,000?
Well, for one, I mean, I had permission to drive the vehicle.
You did. I find that you had permission to drive the vehicle. And I find that she had knowledge of the fact that you didn't have a driver's license. Neither one of those things contributed to your accident.
Okay.
You agree with that?
No.
Well, let me ask you this question, sir. Did the fact that you had a suspended driver's license cause you to have an accident?
No.
What caused you to have an accident?
Drinking.
Right. Now, she didn't get you down on the floor before you left the hospital and open up your mouth, hold your nose, and pour down a bottle of Grey Goose down your throat, did she?
I prefer Absolute, but no.
Absolute. Cute, but no cigar. She didn't do that to you, did you? You did that all by yourself.
Yes.
And that was the proximate cause of your accident. Your drinking. Not the fact that you had a suspended driver's license. You didn't have an accident, so driving her to the hospital, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So what's the proximate cause of your accident? What did the law find, sir?
Drinking and driving.
That's it. Beyond a reasonable doubt, for which you spent 18 long months in jail because it wasn't your first one. Couldn't have been your first one. Some judge was good and fed up with you. How many DUIs had you had?
One prior.
How much injury was caused to the other side and the one that you had back in 2004?
I'm not exactly for sure. They was injured.
And they weren't injured because you had a suspended driver's license, were they?
No.
They were injured because you were drunk.
Yeah.
Do you see your children?
Yes.
How often?
Every other weekend.
Do you support them?
Yes.
How much?
$140 a week.
How much do you earn?
I bring home $342 a week.
Have you made any effort to help Miss Ham and her father with regard to this debt that they incurred because of you?
No, they won't even let me see the van. I haven't even seen it. When I asked to see the van, she said it was on private property.
You have the bill to have it fixed?
It's totaled.
Can I see it?
Yes. I have pictures and then where.
You have a statement that indicates it's totaled?
Yes, I have the vehicle pricing and the estimate where it was done. My dad took care of that, so if you have any questions, he's the one that took care of the estimate.
Just show this to him, would you please? How many other cars did you hit?
Just one.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. That's all. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I'm pleased that he'll have to pay for the damage that he caused to the van.
What can I say?
I've had to pay on the van for the last 2 years and not be able to drive it.
Didn't feel, that I was fully responsible, so whatever. She's going to decide what she wants to decide.
She basically owes $12,000 on the van that she'll continue to pay on, and Mr. Barrett will have nothing. He'll have no responsibility.
I mean, it bothers me a little bit, but what can you do?
I would just like to move on from this, and hopefully Mr. Barrett can do the proper thing in the future and take care of his children.
We'll work out with the children.
Oh, our kids will be perfect.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Christopher versus Dixon, step forward, please.
Charnita Christopher is suing her former friend and child care provider, Vashni Dixon, for her share of money paid to Vashni by the state. Vashni is countersuing for unpaid child care fees.
Miss Christopher, Miss Dixon was a friend of yours.
Yes,
and it is
ma'am.
your claim that at some point she needed some assistance, you needed some assistance with child care, and the state was paying for your child care costs.
Yes, ma'am.
You engaged Miss Dixon to watch your children with the following arrangement, that she would share those child care responsibilities with your aunt, and then they would split the check. It is your claim that when Miss Dixon got the check, she kept the whole check for herself, and you want half the check so that you can give it to your aunt.
Yes, ma'am.
Miss Dixon says that there was no aunt, that she watched the children, but that you wanted her to split the county check. You would keep half, and she would keep half. And she felt that that was very unfair since she had the responsibility of watching the children. She has a counterclaim, and her counterclaim is nonsense. Her counterclaim wants you to pay the difference between what the county paid for child care and what she thinks she deserves for child care, the overage, because that's what it says in the contract from the state. Well, that's not the contract you had with her, Miss Dixon.
When she told me, we made the agreement.
Miss Dixon, that wasn't your agreement that she was going to pay you extra.
She was supposed to pay me $4 an hour. The state was supposed to pay that to me. They did not. She didn't tell me that they wouldn't pay all of that. It's her responsibility to pay.
It's not her responsibility.
How is it not her responsibility?
Because I say so. Because that wasn't your contract with her. Now, how many children do you have?
3.
How long have you been receiving child care money from the state for the 3 children?
Approximately a year.
Starting when?
It started again March 27th of 06.
And where were you working in March?
I wasn't working. It was for me to be able to look for employment at that time.
Well, did you find employment?
I found employment July 3rd. I was hired at Glamour Shots.
So you're telling me from March 27th until July 3rd, the state was paying you to look for a job?
Yes.
To watch your
ma'am.
children?
Yes, ma'am.
When did she start to babysit for you?
August 7th, 2006.
And where were you working at that time?
I wasn't working.
Well, what happened to the job that you started in July?
Oh, August, Glamour Shots. I'm sorry, Glamour Shots.
Are you still working there?
No, ma'am.
When did you stop working there? It's very easy to find out by calling them. When
August
did you
15th.
stop?
August 15th. I have my check stubs.
All right, so you worked there for a month.
Yes, ma'am.
And why did you leave there?
Because they weren't giving me enough hours.
Well, so you left that job because they weren't giving you enough hours and you went to a situation where you weren't working at all.
Yes, ma'am. There was a lot of
Just a
other
second.
issues with that job.
So the county wasn't really getting a great bang for their buck by paying for your 3 children for daycare while you're looking for a job, and you had a job for a total of 1 month when you quit because they weren't giving you enough hours. Something doesn't sound right there, Miss Christopher. So she started working August 7th, and now a week later you're not working. So what are you doing when she's watching your children?
Out looking for work.
What does that mean?
I have to go to the workforce center, and they work with me to help me look for work.
Well, how many days a week do you go to the center?
It could be 4, sometimes 5.
Could it be 3?
It depends on what my job counselor...
When did you go to work?
Where did I go to work?
When? First is when?
I haven't. I'm looking for work right now. My children are not in child care right now at all.
So she started to work on August 7th. And when did you stop working?
I left her house on September 4th, I believe.
So you were there for 4 weeks.
Yeah.
How many hours a day did you watch the children, or did you live in her house?
She'd leave around maybe 10 o'clock in the morning, and she wouldn't get back till like 8 o'clock at night.
What about this aunt? Do you know anything about an aunt?
I never heard anything about her aunt watching her kids before this.
Where's the aunt?
She's at home.
She's not here?
No.
Well, how do you expect to prove to me that somebody else babysat for your children?
I have the proof.
Show me. What kind of proof are you showing me?
Oh, it's the hours that my aunt kept the children. She typed this up. She has a license.
I don't accept that, Miss Christopher. That's hearsay.
Okay. Well, that's what I have.
Well, your case is dismissed. My dear, she got a check for watching your children. You have no proof that somebody else watched your children. Ridiculous. Your case is dismissed, that's all. So is your counterclaim. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Vashti knows that she did not keep my children for those days, and she knows that.
She's a liar, and I don't appreciate liars.
We were friends.
She was like, well, I'll just quit my job and take half your check. I never agreed to it. That's just what she said.
I helped her.
How she was helping me, I don't know.
I don't believe in friends. I have family, and that's it.
I don't think Charnita knows what the definition of a friendship is.
Nah, I'm done helping people. I know it's fraud.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Ernsdorf, Lefebvre versus Del Campo. Step forward.
27-year-old Lauren Ernsdorf and her mother, Carla Lefebvre, are suing Lauren's ex-boyfriend, 21-year-old Alex Del Campo, for a loan for clothes, a bounced check, and damage to her car.
Okay, this used to be your boyfriend. This is your mother. You claim he owes you some money for some old loans, and he also borrowed some money from your mother.
Yes.
Okay, you say that he owes you for car damage.
Yes.
Did you damage her car?
Yeah, I did.
And you want $100 for that?
Yes.
Do you have an estimate that that's what it's going to cost to fix it?
I paid for it, and I have the receipt.
Fine. Is that a fair amount, sir, $100?
Yeah.
Great. Then you say that you paid for some clothes for him.
Yes.
Your mother did.
We both did.
And the clothes were $255.
Yes.
Do you have the clothes?
Actually, yes, I do, and the photo shoot never occurred, therefore the clothes are in returnable condition.
So why didn't you return them?
I've asked her to come pick them up, but she doesn't want them.
That's not true.
So then you owe her $255.16, so I suggest you wear the clothes or do whatever you want, sell them. Go put them on eBay. $255. That brings us to a grand total of $355. Then you said he wrote you a check for $600, but there was insufficient funds to cover the check. So you want that $600 plus the $355 that he owes you. But I don't understand what the $600 is.
It's for the time Alex and I were dating. He borrowed a lot of money from me.
Like what?
Well, he was driving without a license, and I didn't know that, and he got pulled over in my car. And end of January, he told me he was working and he had money, and he was trying to work things back out with me. So he gave me $600 to try to say, oh, I'm doing better, I'm working now. Because the whole time we were together, he never had a job longer than 2 weeks.
You picked him.
I know, and I know.
I didn't
Never
pick
again.
him. I
know.
wouldn't have picked him. I guarantee you, I would not have picked him.
I don't know what I was thinking.
I don't know what you were thinking either. Why did you give her a check for $600?
Well, she was like overdrawn in her account, so I decided to help her out, which my check bounced, and that's it.
Just a second.
No.
Listen. Shh. Do you think that I believe what you just said to me?
There's nothing else for me to say, though. I gave her the money, but I just didn't have it.
What did you give her the money for?
So she can be out of it being in debt. She was overdrawn. I don't know how much money she was overdrawn, and she said $600 to help her.
Tell me how you knew she was overdrawn.
Because she told me and she showed me.
Show me.
I don't have anything.
Did you ever tell him that you were overdrawn in your account?
No, I told him I needed help. I needed him to start repaying the loans.
Does that sound right to you, sir?
No, it doesn't sound right at all. I owe her mother money. That's who I owe money to. I don't feel that I owe Miss Ernsdorf anything.
Tell me why.
Because we were dating at the time, and she decided to sue me way after. And throughout the times that we were together and everything, she didn't ask me for any money. She didn't ask me for anything, and I was paying her mom at the time 2 money orders that I gave her mother of exactly $400. That's all I paid off.
For what?
For the DMV that her mother paid.
Okay, her mother paid for the motor vehicles problem that you had.
Yeah, exactly.
How much did you pay?
I gave him a little over $800.
So you still owe her mother $400?
Yeah,
And you owe her $100 to fix the car. You've already agreed with that.
absolutely.
And you owe $255 for the clothes, which I believe that you owe her because you have the clothes with the tags on them. Go sell them.
All right.
Good. Now, how much did the bank charge you for his bad check?
$30.
That's $785.
Okay.
Perfect. Judgment for the plaintiff. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I owe her what I owe her, and I decided, that's it.
He wasn't really giving me any excuses that he doesn't have it.
It's fair. That's it.
You live and learn. Unfortunately, had to come to this, but I think she has learned from it.
Not hoping really for anything. I just hope this is all over, and that's it.
Oh, I'm not going to date young little boys.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Carey versus Taylor. Step forward.
24-year-old Matthew Carey is suing the boyfriend of his child's mother, 21-year-old Brian Taylor, for vandalizing his truck. Brian claims Matthew showed up at his house looking for a fight.
Mr. Carey, Mr. Taylor, according to your complaint, is the current boyfriend of your ex-girlfriend. And you and your ex-girlfriend have a child together, a little girl.
Yes, we do.
According to your complaint, you were at your ex-girlfriend's house in order to drop your daughter off, and Mr. Taylor lost his cool and damaged your car. Mr. Taylor says you had no business being there and denies causing any damage to your car. Is that right, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Taylor, how long have you been with Mr. Carey's former girlfriend?
About a year and a half.
You have a child together?
Yes, ma'am.
How old is the child?
5 months.
How many people live in your home?
Me, my fiance, our kids, and
How many kids?
2.
The daughter that she shares with Mr. Carey
Yes,
and
ma'am.
your child.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you work?
No, I don't.
How do you support yourself?
They support me.
Who's they?
My fiance and her family.
Why?
Because she goes to school, and I watch the kids.
How old are you?
21.
In whose house do you live?
Her grandmother's.
Who else lives there?
Her grandmother and her brother.
How old is your fiancée?
21.
She didn't work either.
No, full-time student.
No wonder everyone wants to come to America. How old are you, sir?
24 years old.
You work?
Yes, I do.
Who do you work for?
Construction company.
How old is your daughter?
Almost 3.
Pay child support?
Yes.
How much?
$40 a week. And I take her 4 days a week.
Who do you make the payments to?
Maria.
Directly?
Yep.
That's not true, Your Honor. It's not $40 a week. It's $40 a month if I'm lucky.
Don't worry about him. Worry about yourself. Get a job.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
We're not talking about some prehistoric theory here. We're talking about how civilized human beings behave, not people who have too much time on their hands.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Matthew Carey claims his ex's new boyfriend, Brian Taylor, vandalized his truck during a custody exchange.
Okay, tell me about this incident when it happened, sir.
It was on 9/14. I've never been to Ariana's school before to pick her up. I had a day off of work, and I called Maria and told her that I wanted to come and see my daughter, meet the teachers for the first time. I went to go pick up my daughter.
And she said okay.
Yeah, she met me at the school.
Stand up, please. You met Mr. Carey at the school?
Yes.
Okay, what's your last name?
Atherinis.
What happened?
I picked her up about 30 to 40 minutes later. My boss had called me from work, asked me if I could come in on an emergency call. So I called Maria and said that if I could drop her off.
What does she go to, daycare?
It's like a pre-K.
Well, if she's 3 years old, she doesn't go to pre-kindergarten.
It's like a Head Start program.
How many days a week does she go?
4.
So why doesn't he work? He just told me he stays home to watch the kids.
Well, he watches his own son. We have a son.
Why doesn't he work at night?
It's my family time, ma'am.
You can have family time as long as you're employed.
It's hard when she goes to school all day and I would work all night. That would be hard to have family time.
Mr. Taylor, that's a joke, sir. You should have thought of that before you made a baby. Having your family time.
Sure.
What people do when they have babies is they get a job and they support them. I don't support them. He doesn't support them. The state doesn't support them. And I'm absolutely positive if I looked in your bank account, I'd find out that somebody else was supporting your child other than the grandmother. Would that be a fair statement, sir?
No, ma'am.
No? Guarantee it. Head Start is a program that we pay for. Not you, because you don't work. Okay. So you called her and told her you were coming over. So far, is that correct?
Yes.
How long did it take you to get there?
I told her, give me about 20 minutes, I'll call you when I'm on my way. So I called after the 20 minutes. He answered the phone the second time, and he said, no, she's not here. Don't the F word, call here again. So, it's not the first time that he did something like that. So what I did is I drove around the block, seen that her car was there, pulled up in the driveway and beeped the horn. And she came outside. She went to my car passenger back door, grabbed my daughter. He came out the door and just came to my window and just started doing a number on my vehicle.
What kind of a number was he doing on your vehicle?
At first, he punched the window, and then he just started kicking the door, trying to get me to come out my vehicle to fight him.
No, that's not true.
That's a lie.
What did you go outside for, Mr. Taylor?
Because he called me, threatening me that he wanted to fight with me. So what happened was he came to the house. I came outside. I noticed he had hammers.
What did you go, just a second. What did you go outside for?
Because he came to my house. He had just called me.
Just a second. What did you go outside for?
Because he showed up at my house.
Call the police. If somebody called my house and said, I'm coming over to your house to beat you up, you call the police and you say, some nut who used to go with my fiance is coming to the house with a 3-year-old child and he wants to beat me up. You don't go outside because it's clear to me he came with her daughter and his daughter. She came out and she got the child.
His intentions weren't just to drop off the child, though. They were to fight.
That's not
Just
true,
a second. Aren't you getting what I'm saying to you? You got your daughter. He goes into your house. He closes the door, goes over to the phone, and he calls the police. And he says, some nut is in my driveway, and he wants to fight with me. He doesn't go outside to the car. You get it?
Yes.
I mean, we're not talking about some prehistoric theory here. We're talking about how civilized human beings behave, not people who have too much time on their hands.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Go to judgejudy.com or call 1-888-800-JUDY.
Can I see pictures of the car, please?
Yeah, I have pictures and I also have witnesses and estimates.
Who are the witnesses? Are the witnesses relatives, friends?
They're neighbors across the street from them.
Yes. I'd like to hear them, please. Tell me your name.
Antoinette Degner.
Degner. And you, sir?
I'm Don Degner.
You live across the street from them?
Yes.
Yes.
My sympathies. You want to tell me what you observed on September 14th?
We were in our house, and we had the door open. It was a nice day. And I heard somebody outside ranting and raving, get the F out of the car and all kinds of bad language. So I stood up and looked out the window, and I seen this gentleman over here, and he just started punching and kicking the car. And Matthew went to pull back out of the driveway, and he gave the car another kick and put a nice dent in the front quarter panel. And I don't know any of these kids. So I ain't biased, against any of them. I don't know any of them.
And the baby was outside.
The baby was outside?
Yes, the baby was like 4 feet from his truck.
Who was holding the baby?
Nobody. The baby
Maria
was standing
trying
there
to
first.
calm it down. And Mr. Taylor grabbed the baby and put the baby up on the porch, and Maria brought the baby inside.
Thank you very much. You may be seated.
Nobody said nothing about the hammer that he tried getting out of the vehicle with.
He never got out of the vehicle.
Just a second.
I didn't let him.
Listen to me. He damaged his car. You have to find something more constructive to do with your time than sitting around the house, doing nothing. Find a daycare for your son and go get a job. You made him. You support him. She doesn't work. You don't work. The state gives you enough stipends, whether it be from Head Start or WIC or whatever else it is, so that you don't have to do anything but sit home in her grandmother's house and be supported by other people. That's not the real world, sir. The real world is if you're old enough to make a baby, you're old enough to support it. How much did it cost you to fix your car?
$1,300. And I have proof that I had to take off of work for the window.
How was the window broken? Now the window's broken.
Be quiet.
Go up and down. The window. How was the window damaged?
There are ways to express your affection for someone, madam, other than having children. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,500. That's all. Step out.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
My children are not.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
He got a kid that he don't take care of when I sit at home and take care of her all day and night.
He didn't damage the car, and neither one of my children are accidents.
You know, nothing hurts more than having your daughter be there. You know, not even a damage gets paid.
He doesn't even deserve to see his child.
I'm going to be in her life for the rest of my life. It's her mother. It just got to stop.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Day versus Fenimore. Step forward.
Jennifer Day is suing her ex-boyfriend, 24-year-old Spencer Fenimore, for breaking a lease. Spencer claims there was no lease to break.
Miss Day, you and Mr. Fenimore lived together for a period of time, signed a lease on an apartment, lived together during the course of that lease. The lease was renewed, according to you, for another 6 months, and Mr. Fenimore moved out after a month or so. You want him to be responsible for his half of the remainder of the lease. Mr. Fenimore, while he acknowledges that you signed an initial lease together, his defense is that he did not sign the renewal, that you must have signed for him. You knew that he was intending to leave, that things weren't going well between the two of you, and he is not responsible for the second part of the lease. So can I see the first lease that you signed? When did you move in together?
It was, I believe, December 2004.
Well, the lease was signed November 2005.
I think it was 2004. I'm not real correct on that.
Well, what am I looking at? November
That's
29, 2005. What?
That's probably our renewal lease.
I didn't ask for the renewal. I asked for the original lease.
This isn't the actual lease, but it's part of the first lease that has the 12/8/04 date that Spencer was speaking of.
Can I see it, please? Okay. So the original was signed on 12/8/04, and you claim the renewal was signed by him on November 29th, 2005.
That's correct.
Is that right, sir?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you sign the renewal?
Yes.
You said in your answer you didn't sign the renewal.
I signed the renewal that went from November 2005 until May 2006. She's suing me from May 2006 to November 2006.
Got it. So who has that renewal?
The one that I handed to you shows that we went in the office and verbally renewed, and I have a letter from the office dated June 1st.
You can't verbally renew. Cannot verbally renew a 6-month lease. That's ridiculous. He says he did not renew the lease. You have no proof that he did renew the lease.
If he didn't want to renew the lease, Your Honor, he shouldn't have stayed there till July.
Because then you can have a month-to-month tenancy.
Okay.
You can have a month-to-month tenancy and pay every month until the landlord says, listen, I don't want to give you a month-to-month tenancy anymore. You have to leave within 30 days. Then you leave.
Right.
But you can't obligate him. Sorry. Case is dismissed.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
If he wanted to move out, he should have moved out at the end of May instead of staying until July.
The fact of the matter is, this is not a monetary case. This is a case where she's still in love with me. I'm not in love with her. She wants me to stay. I don't want to stay.
He just one night told me he didn't want to see me anymore.
Why would you want to live with someone that doesn't want to live with you?
I was shocked, and it escalated into a huge fight.
Why would you even push the issue? If someone doesn't want to live with you, let them go out diplomatically. Don't try to coerce them into staying.
He stayed a couple of weeks and then left when I was at work.
To thank the good judge for being so rational in this case.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Vito versus Benton Court. Step forward, please.
Rhonda Vito is suing the mother of her son's friend, Anna Betancourt, for the cost to fix a dirt bike. Rhonda claims Anna's son, 17-year-old Sean, rode her son's bike without permission and wrecked it.
Miss Vito, which of these two young men is your son?
Anthony, the first one.
How old are you, Anthony?
16.
How tall are you?
6'1".
What do you feed him?
Pasta.
Pasta? Which one of these two young men is
Sean.
am I going to grill today?
Sean.
Ms. Betancourt, and this is your son, whose name is Sean?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Vito, it is your complaint that Ms. Betancourt's son drove your son's dirt bike without permission, got into an accident, and damaged the bike. You believe Mrs. Betancourt should be responsible for fixing the bike. Ms. Betancourt said that her son did have permission to ride the bike, that he was injured, that you're just lucky she's not suing you for the injuries because he broke an ankle. Is that right?
Yeah.
And your son gave her son permission to ride the bike, so that's it. Shouldn't be here. Anthony.
Yes.
Anthony, when were you riding the bike when it was running? What date was the last date before this incident? You have to look down at a piece of paper?
No.
What date?
May 8th.
And where were you on May 8th?
We were at a track in Brockton, riding.
And is it a track where they just have dirt bikes?
Yes.
Who was there?
Myself, Nick.
You have to speak up. You hear I'm speaking? I'm projecting. You can hear me, right?
Myself, Nick, and Dennis.
Dennis, that would be you.
Yes, Your Honor.
But Sean wasn't there.
No.
This was after school, or there was no school on that day?
It was after school.
What time?
About like 3:30 to 5:30.
Okay. Now, you're going to tell me what happened.
Myself, Nick, and Dennis were riding. My bike wasn't working right, so we drove it to my other friend's house. I tried fixing it, but it didn't work, and Sean asked to ride it.
Okay. Now, Sean was at your other friend's house?
Yes.
They were just hanging out?
Yes.
So far, are we correct, Sean?
Yes.
So up to this point, our stories are in sync, right? Sean asked if he could ride the bike.
Yes, and me and Nick said no, and I was putting the tools away, and he got on the bike and with no helmet and just left.
Why did you say no?
Because the bike wasn't working properly.
Is that the reason you left the track?
Yes.
Did you have a bike with you that day?
No, Your Honor.
Did you have a bike with you that day?
Yes, Your Honor.
So you had your own bike?
Yes.
He's petrified. Go ahead.
About 5 minutes after I saw him, I tried waving him over, and he kept going.
Well, what was he going around in a circle?
Yeah, like he went around the block. I saw him, I waved him over. He didn't come over. And about 10 minutes later, he came back with a broken ankle.
By the way, in the state of Massachusetts, are you required to ride with a helmet?
Yes.
You're also 16, Sean?
17.
17. So you're older than he is.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
I start eating more pasta.
I don't like pasta.
Okay, let me hear your version. You're at your friend's house. He comes by with his bike. Go ahead.
He came by with his bike. They were fixing it. Dennis rode the bike.
Talk back. Came by, and they were fixing it.
Yes.
Were you outside when they were fixing it?
No, I shut up there. I got out after they were done fixing it, and I came out. And
Well, how did you know they were fixing it?
because they told me that after.
After what?
I crashed.
After the crash,
Yeah.
not before.
No.
So you showed up after they had been fooling around with the bike.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And then Dennis was riding it, and then when he stopped riding it, I asked if I could ride it. He said no. I asked him again. He said no, and then I just hopped on the bike and rode it. Because I rode it again, so I didn't really think it was a big deal.
Did you tell that to your mother?
No.
No, ma'am.
He didn't tell that to you.
No, ma'am.
He had an epiphany here. Right?
Yeah.
Sean, you had an epiphany here, right? You know what that word means? Change of heart. You had an enlightenment. So this is the first time your mother's hearing that he said, no, you can't ride the bike. Now, do you think that if your mother knew that you didn't have permission to ride this bike, that we would be here today? You stole the bike, right? If you ask the owner of a bike, a car, something, can I use your vehicle? And they say, no, you can't. You say, oh, I'm going to use it anyway. Go get rid of your tools. While you're getting rid of your tools, I'll get on the bike and ride it. Sean, what do you have to say for yourself?
I don't know.
Miss Betancourt, you changed your mind? Your son rode the bike without permission. He actually stole it. He was told he couldn't drive it. You think he's responsible for the damage he caused?
But, Your Honor, I also have medical bills that my insurance is not covering.
Well, let me ask you this question, Miss Betancourt. Let's say your son was walking down the street on his way home, and he saw a red Corvette convertible. And he got into the car, because the keys were there, got into the car, and he took off with the car. And he crashed it. And he got hurt. You think that the owner of that car would be responsible for your medical bills?
No, but also what I didn't finish is that what they're charging me, they're also charging me for part that was fixed that had nothing to do with the accident. And Dennis is the one who took the bike to the shop. And some of the chains and the stuff was worn out during all the periods that they were riding the bikes. So it had nothing to do with the accident.
Well, how much do you believe you are responsible for of the bills that they had?
If we take that out, it would be $355.78.
How much did it cost you to fix the bike?
$631.10.
But the bike wasn't working before he got on the bike properly.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
So it was going to have to go in to be fixed, because the reason you didn't want him to ride the bike is because it wasn't working properly.
Yes.
So at least part of that $631 that it cost you to fix the bike was as a result of wear and tear on the bike, or something that had absolutely no relation to the accident. So what has to do with the accident? Anthony?
I don't know.
Well, if you don't know, she knows. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $355.78. Good. Truth will out. Aren't you glad I didn't have to call on you?
No.
That's all. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Basically, he had asked Anthony to ride the bike, and Anthony said no.
I would say, A, know how to drive a motorcycle before you attempt.
And then he asked again, Anthony said, yeah.
B, especially if you don't know how, wear a helmet for safety.
Well, the only regret I have, I wish my son had told me that he didn't have permission to ride the bike.
See, if it's not yours, leave it alone.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Carson versus Harris. Step forward, please.
Mitchell Carson is suing the mother of his child, Michelle Harris, and her husband, Todd Harris, for the return of attorney fees for a failed adoption.
Mr. Carson, you and Mrs. Harris have a child together. How
Correct,
old
ma'am.
is that child?
He's 8 years old, ma'am.
Did you ever live with him?
No.
This is your claim. The mother of your child, Miss Harris, is married to Mr. Harris. They've been married for how long?
3 years, Your Honor.
Do you have any children other than this child?
Yes, 2.
Your former girlfriend, you weren't married, is that right? And you spoke about the possibility of her husband adopting your son. And you thought about it for a while. Ultimately, you agreed that that might be a good idea. And you went ahead and hired a lawyer.
She hired the lawyer. She has to petition the lawyer.
You paid for the lawyer?
I did, because they said that they couldn't afford it.
She subsequently changed her mind
Correct.
about the adoption, and you want that money back.
Correct.
Why did you change your mind about the adoption?
We never did change our mind, Your Honor. We simply moved out of the area. I had been searching for work for a good 4 years and couldn't find anything but maybe temp work or part-time. We couldn't afford to take care of our children. So we started looking elsewhere for work, and Oregon had a great rate of employment, higher wages, lower cost of living, so we decided to move there and then pursue the adoption when we got settled.
Mr. Carson, when was the last time you saw your son?
I believe it was about 3 years ago.
Why?
We just had such a lack of communication together, and she lived about 100 miles away, and it just made it real difficult for us to communicate together. And that was probably a lot of my fault, because I should have remained involved. Okay. But that's why the end result was the adoption.
Mr. Carson, when was the last time you supported your son?
I pay child support every month.
How much do you pay?
I pay $400 a month.
Is he up to date in his child support?
I think he's a little bit behind, but not much.
I believe him when he says he pays child support. So you're not able to use this lawyer?
Correct. What it ended up happening was I paid for the attorney, and then they sent me some documents, which I signed. It was just simple, one form that I had to sign to my release of interest, or whatever you'd like to call it.
Termination of parental rights.
Correct. And then it was on her. And about 6 months later or so, I contacted her attorney, and her attorney had said at that point she hadn't spoken with her, had no contact with her at all, and actually at that moment said, you know, I don't even think she's going to do this. Which is fine. If she doesn't want to do the adoption, I mean, I'm completely capable and okay with paying child support, you know, till he's 18 years old. But when she came to me with the idea of doing the adoption and I agreed to it, I thought in good faith, when she said they couldn't afford it, that I paid for it, that they would go through with it. And then I called her and asked her why she wasn't doing it. It was at that point that she said it was because, you know, financially they couldn't do it.
So they needed your child support to help support the household?
Sure. Correct. And also at that point, I had contacted Michelle to find out what was going on, and then she told me she was moving. According to our document, she has to give me 30 days written notice of moving. I had no idea she was going to move until I contacted her to ask her what was happening.
Well, that may be written into your contract. However, since you haven't seen your son in 3 years, it really doesn't make much difference. Mr. Harris, are you working now?
No, not at the present time.
Are you working now?
Yes, I am, Your Honor.
For whom?
I work for a company that deals with clinical technology services for
How much
a
do
hospital.
you earn?
$15.25 an hour, and I support all 5 of us.
No, you don't support all 5 of you. He helps support all 5 of you. When was the last time your husband worked full-time, and
I would
where?
say it was for a landscaping company in Olympia, and it was a year and a half, 2 years ago.
I'm not sure of the exact date.
Well, she says it's a year and a half, 2 years ago.
Yeah, it's a year and a half, 2 years ago.
Well, that's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Why is that ridiculous?
It's ridiculous not to work when you have 2 children. When did you move?
We moved in March of '06.
So you moved from, just a minute, so you moved from one place where he can't get a job for a year to another place, and now he's still not working. Doesn't that clue?
That's not exactly correct. I worked for a company in Portland as a steam cleaner. I did that for 2.5 months. I also worked doing mill shutdowns for a temporary job. It's not like I haven't worked.
So I'm glad you're working. I'm glad everything is wonderful with you. The strong probability exists that they're not going to let you off the hook so fast.
Ma'am, can I add something, please?
Yeah.
The reason why they told me why he's having a hard time finding work and why they couldn't do the adoption is because when they moved to Portland, Michelle told me that he had a warrant out for his arrest. She told me that's what kept us from going into court. Her attorney told me that when they moved to
Just
Portland...
a second. Well, that's very easy to
Am I in
figure
jail?
out. Shh. Turn around. What was the warrant for, Miss Harris? I didn't speak to you. I didn't speak to you. I said, what was the warrant for, Mrs. Harris?
His warrant was for parole violation from 1996.
When did you know about his parole violation?
We didn't know about it until we moved to Oregon. However, we discussed past legal issues with the attorney, and she said that that shouldn't make a difference. Also, just to clarify, we had no agreement with him to pay him back.
Well, but no, just a second. But you had an agreement to pursue the adoption.
Correct.
That's your agreement.
I didn't.
And
you wanted my son.
No, just Mr. Carson. Shh, Mr. Carson.
Sorry, ma'am.
I'm just saying, Your Honor, at no time had I talked to Mitch about the adoption.
Then you can sit down. Because you're not working anyway. She's working. She'll pay. Sit down. Sit down. You had an agreement with him that in exchange for giving up his parental rights, your husband would assume the parental responsibility, which includes support. And what happened was it became very secondary in your mind with all the other trouble that you have. You have now 3 children in your house. You're working at $15 an hour. Not great. But you can't do that. If he's giving you the money to pay for the lawyer, which he did, because you agreed to pursue this matter and then change your mind, in my mind, you've breached an agreement with him.
We never made an agreement to...
Just a second. That's why you're here.
We never said we wouldn't do the adoption, Your Honor. Circumstances
Then when you...
stopped it.
Listen to me. When you move back to the jurisdiction where he can use the lawyer that he paid for, you could sue him for the money. Right now, you're going to pay for the lawyer. How much was it?
The total amount that we ended up paying the attorney was $1,062, ma'am.
We weren't living off of his child support. We honestly wanted to do the adoption.
Well,
and
listen
when we
to me,
moved,
Miss Harris. You've been married once?
Twice. This is my second marriage.
You weren't married to him so that you had, I would consider, 3 relationships. 2 marriages, 1 relationship. Is that fair? You have 3 children?
Yes.
How old are you?
I am 34.
The likelihood of this man celebrating your 25th wedding anniversary is 0. So that, as far as I'm concerned, it would be very unwise for him to adopt this child. Judge him for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,062.
Thank you, Your
That's
Honor.
all.
Women think that they can take advantage of men when it comes to children, and I think this is a good situation that proves that women don't always have the upper hand.
There was no agreement. We did want to do the adoption. Circumstances were just such that we couldn't do it.
I've been raising Mitch's son with love and concern, okay, for a lot of years now.
We're still going to try to do the adoption. That was always our intent.
How everything's gone down now, I might decide that maybe it is now in his best interest to be a part of my life, maybe.
20-year-old Holly Corbella is suing her former high school classmate, 21-year-old Summerlin Gray, for vandalizing her car. Summerlin claims Holly tried to run her over.
Order. All rise. Now, this is case number 358 on the calendar in the matter of Corbella versus Gray. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Gentlemen, have a seat.
Ms. Corbella, according to what I've put together from your complaint, you knew the defendant from high school. You weren't friends, but you knew her from high school. And it is your claim that she vandalized your car. She vandalized your car by kicking it with you in it. Correct. This was after some sort of an altercation at a place where she works. The defendant says that if she touched your car or came into contact with your car, it was because you were trying to run her over. And if there was any damage to your car, it was as a result of that. So, how long ago did you graduate from high school?
2004.
And you?
2004, ma'am.
And you weren't friends?
No.
Were you enemies?
Not really. We just didn't really talk.
Didn't talk, didn't care for each other, so you weren't friends, you weren't enemies, you just knew each other?
Yes.
When did this incident happen with your car?
November 10th, 2005.
Where?
In Crinkles, which is her parents' store.
Crinkles?
Yeah.
What kind of a store is it?
It's like a type 7-Eleven type store.
Okay, so tell me what happened on November 10th.
Me and my boyfriend, we went to the store, I believe, to get cigarettes.
To the store that her parents owned?
Yeah, which I didn't even know that her parents owned the store. So we went in. I went in with him to buy the cigarettes. I knew the guy at the cash register, so I was talking to him.
Who was that?
I believe his name was Dan. I knew him from like high school. Like I hadn't seen him in years. And then I just told him that I was going to go sit in the car because there was a line to listen to music. So I went in the car.
And?
He was in the store and she came over.
Stand up, sir.
Yes.
Your last name is?
Lord, L-O-R-D.
Okay, so you were standing on line?
Yes.
She went back to sit in the car?
Yes.
What happened in the store?
I was standing in line, and she had came up to the register talking to the guy that she had said hello to, Dan, I believe. When she started talking, she started saying a lot of things about her. I don't want her in my store, like very bad verbal things, and she didn't know I was with her.
What kind
Can I say it on TV? Just, I don't want that in my store, or this and that. I don't, she shouldn't be here. If she ever comes in again, I'm going to kick her. Stuff like that. And she didn't know I was with her, and I was in the back of the line. And then eventually I was like, do you speak to all your customers like that? And then she basically, started yelling at me, and we got into an argument.
Well, what did she say to you?
She was just like, who are you? And I said, well, I'm Holly Corbella's boyfriend. And she's like, yeah. Well, she's like, you can get out of my store, too. I said, oh, this is your store? And she's like, yeah, it's my store. I said, you own this store, and this is how you respect your customers, by yelling like that.
Okay, so you had a verbal altercation with this young lady.
Yes.
And then what happened?
Basically, it kept going on, and then the guy at the register tried calming her down, calming me down, because we were both arguing, and it started to come outside. She came out to me outside, right in the front
Did you
door.
leave?
Yes, I left.
Did you pay for your cigarettes?
Yes.
Paid for your cigarettes and you walked out?
Yes.
Okay. Now, he's paid for his cigarettes. Is that right, Miss Gray?
No, ma'am.
He didn't pay?
No, ma'am. He
Really?
didn't purchase anything that night, ma'am, and if I may, I will
Just
start...
a second. So
Okay.
he didn't purchase anything. Are you saying you didn't walk out with your cigarettes?
I purchased a 6-pack of Heineken and a pack of cigarettes, Marlboro.
And you paid for them?
Cash.
Okay, good. Go ahead, Miss Gray. I believe him.
Okay. Well,
I believe that he waited online because he wasn't leaving without those cigarettes and he wasn't leaving without the beer. So I believe...
Well, why would anybody,
just
right?
a second. Just a second. Because he's waited online, he's already argued with you, so he may have been disgusted with your store, but he wasn't leaving without his items. So I believe he bought them and he paid for them.
Okay.
Got it?
Got it.
Now, you want to tell me what problem you had with Miss Corbella?
Well, that night, ma'am, Miss Corbella had walked into the food side of my store, and her boyfriend had walked into the liquor side of my store. Holly seen me. She looked directly in my eyes. I didn't say anything out loud to where any customers heard anything, and I pulled my brother aside, who is the manager, and I said, I don't want her in this store. I don't trust her. I've had altercations with her from stealing and hearing...
I thought you said that you didn't have any bad contact with her.
No, I don't.
So what do you mean?
Because my friend has gotten in trouble from her stealing, whatever.
What do you mean your friends got into trouble with her from stealing?
We were never friends, never liked each other. We had this one friend that was friends with me and friends with her.
Yes.
My friend that was also friends with both of us got in trouble with her stealing.
Just a second. So your friend was arrested for stealing, for theft?
Yes.
And according to you, she was with this friend when she got arrested for stealing?
Yes.
Okay. Was she arrested for stealing?
No.
Just your friend was arrested for stealing?
With her, yes.
No. Listen to me.
Yes, she wasn't arrested. No, yes, my friend was
Just
arrested.
your friend was arrested for
Yes.
stealing. Now, he's on his way out the door. Why did you follow him out the door? Look at me.
I followed him out the door because the altercation that happened inside my parents' store, he left mad, and she actually was inside the store when the fighting was going on. So she heard everything and she seen everything. I followed him out of this store because my car was in the parking lot, and I didn't want anything happening to my car, anything in the parking lot, because
Now.
they threatened me.
No, listen to me. Listen to me. Very carefully. There was a line when Mr. Lord was waiting to pay for his cigarettes and his beer, which means there were other customers in the store.
Right.
How many other customers would you say were in the store?
There were only about 3, ma'am.
And is your store a standalone store, or are there other stores in a shopping mall? Or
It's a standalone, ma'am.
how many people were in the store after Mr. Lord left the store?
The same 3, ma'am.
So that there were at least 3 other cars out there. Is
Right.
that right? Listen to me carefully. Plus your car, right?
Plus my car, yes.
And you hadn't seen Miss Corbella since high school, right? And you never met Mr. Lord, right?
Right.
So how do they know which is your car and which is a
Holly
car that
Corbella
belongs?
knows well what my car looks like. I've had the same car since high school, and she's seen my car outside her friend's car and me get into it a couple of times and drive away.
Great.
So
Did she
knows-
just listen to me? Did she ever hurt your car before?
We've never had an altercation.
Just listen to me. Did
No.
she ever hurt your
No,
car
ma'am.
before?
No.
What happened when she followed you outside?
We were still arguing. She told me, you know, I'm going to kick her if she doesn't leave. So I walked up into the car. As I got in the car, no lie, the size of her, I was surprised how strong she came at the car and kicked the car in right where I was. As I closed the door, she came and kicked it. There was no running over her. Then she even went in front of the car as we were leaving. And Holly was all nervous, so she was trying to get around her. The car was already kicked.
You have a picture of the car?
Yes.
I'd like to see
I have
it,
a couple
please.
pictures, actually.
Were you there, sir?
I was outside smoking a cigarette, Your Honor.
I don't remember.
Oh, this is a kick, Miss Gray. This is a kick, my dear.
This is not a kick.
Yeah, this is a kick, Miss Hot Temper.
Okay.
This is a kick. This is not I fell into your car accidentally. This is a kick.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You don't want to say anything, do you?
I'll say something if you want me to.
Do I want you to? No.
And later today,
The forgery was in 2002?
Yes, ma'am.
When were you incarcerated?
New Year's Eve, 05.
Took them 3 years to figure it out?
Took him 3 years to catch me, man.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Holly Corbella says former high school classmate Summerlin Gray vandalized her car. Summerlin says Holly tried to run her over after a confrontation with her boyfriend.
Does this look like I fell into the car accidentally, or does this look like somebody kicked it?
It was a running
fell into it several times.
Looks like I fell into it several times. Got a hot temper, madam. You can't do that. You can't
I'm sorry,
vandalize
ma'am.
somebody
if
else's
somebody
car.
comes into my family business, he had nothing to do with what I said to her because he didn't even hear me.
What does that have to do with kicking his car?
He wanted to throw a beer case at me over my family counter is what the first threat was. And then, yes, I did go outside to make sure everything was okay in the parking lot. He did not get directly in the car. He stood in my face threatening me to where the point my brother had to come outside and separate us.
Listen to me. What does that have to do with kicking her car?
I didn't kick her car,
You
ma'am.
did.
I flew backwards. No, I did not.
You don't want to say anything, do you?
I'll say something if you want me to.
Do I want you to? No. Could I have an estimate, please, to fix this car where Miss Hot Temper kicked your car?
And ma'am,
Your
they did
parents
not
leave
keep-
you in charge of that business often?
Actually, I'm not in charge, ma'am.
Well, it's good that at least they have some brains. They don't leave you in charge. But
I guess.
but does somebody monitor the two of you in that store?
He doesn't work there, ma'am. He was waiting for me to get off.
They don't trust you to work in the store. They trust her. Judging for the plaintiff the amount of $940. That's all. Step out.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Do not come in my family's business and start a problem for no reason.
Come up with a case like that to make an excuse that she ran into the car was just absurd.
I could have just told the manager to simply ask her to leave, but her boyfriend insisted in carrying on the situation.
She's just mad that she lost her temper, kicked the car, and now she has to pay for it.
I don't want a theft in my family store, and that's the point of my story.
I don't steal. I've never stolen anything before in my life.
Because of her past. I know her past.
I've never been arrested. I would never damage her car.
They will never be allowed in the store again.
I'm just glad that she gets what she deserves, and I finally get to get my car fixed.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Price versus Emerson. Step forward.
Peggy Price is suing her ex-boyfriend, Corey Emerson, for loans to pay rent, fix his bike, and travel to his brother's wedding. Corey says the money she gave him was never a loan.
Miss Price, Mr. Emerson was your boyfriend for a brief period of time, and according to your complaint, you made a series of loans to him. You want your money back because he broke off the relationship. He says that he did break off the relationship. Any money that you gave him during the relationship were gifts because you cared for him. He needed the money. That's what people do who care for each other. They help each other out. And the only time it became a loan was when he broke up with you. Is that your defense, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
How old are you, Mr. Emerson?
30 years old.
Ever been married?
Yes, ma'am.
How many times?
Just once.
When and for how long?
I was married when I was 20 for 9 years.
You have children?
2.
How old are your children?
9 and 10.
Do you see them?
Almost every day.
So you're a good father.
I try to be, ma'am.
What kind of work do you do, Mr. Emerson?
I work for the railroad.
And how long have you worked for the railroad?
6.5 years.
Pay child support?
Yes, ma'am.
What about you, Miss Price? How old are you?
32.
Ever been married?
Yes.
When and for how long?
2000 until 2005.
Have any children?
2.
How old are they?
5 and 13.
Do you work?
I do.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm self-employed hairstylist.
Children see their father?
Yes.
Do you pay child support?
He's disabled, so they get Social Security.
And your former wife, sir, what does she do?
She has an in-home daycare.
So it would be a fair statement, Mr. Emerson, to say that both of these families are sort of struggling to make ends meet financially. That be a fair statement?
I wouldn't say that I'm struggling, nor would I say she's struggling at all.
Really?
That's correct.
You think there's plenty of money to go around?
I do.
Then why would you take money from her, Mr. Emerson?
I didn't take any money.
No, listen to me, sir.
Oh.
You did take money from her. Whether it's a gift or a loan, you did take money from her, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So, if these two families are in pretty much similar circumstance, why would you take money from her?
Things come up, things need to be paid. She offers to pay for those things. I wasn't going to say no.
Why not? Is my question. Why not? Would not a person with a certain moral compass say, listen, you're a working gal, you got 2 little children. I'm a working guy, I got 2 little children.
Somebody offers me money, who am I to say no?
A creep. That's who you are. Because whether I determine this was a gift or a loan, you're a creep. You're not talking about somebody who's got plenty of extra cash and says to somebody that she cares about, listen, I got a lot of extra cash. You need something, I'll help you with it. You were pretty well aware of the fact, if you were dating for a while, that she's a hard-working gal who comes home from work, takes care of her kids, does the cooking, whatever, does everything that has to be done. And you, on the other hand, who see your children every day, which is really very nice, probably have much less responsibility with regard to doing their laundry, with regard to taking them to their appointments, with regard to doing the general stuff, what I call the grunt work, because your children do live with their mother, don't they?
Yes, ma'am.
So now we're going to decide whether you are a creep that took the money because it was a loan or a creep that took the money because it was a gift. Either way, I don't approve of your behavior. Now, when did you start dating Mr. Emerson?
The second week of May 2006.
Tell me when and under what circumstances he asked you for the first amount of money.
He wrecked his bike, the fork broke. He said that he didn't have the money to pay for it. Sent me a text message, can you do me a huge favor? That's how all of them start.
Could you do me a huge favor?
Yeah.
Go ahead. What did it say?
I need money to pay for the fork for my bike.
Okay.
So I said under the condition that he make payments, whatever. Eventually it's got to be paid back.
When did you tell him eventually it has to be paid back?
I didn't set a date. I just said, whenever you can pay me back.
Okay, so and how much was that for?
This check was for $409.81.
Okay, next.
Then he was having problems. He didn't have enough money to pay his rent. So
how did you find out about that?
He sent me a text message again asking him to help him pay his rent. And I said, how much is it? And he said it was $640 with late fees. I said, how much do you have? He said he had like $400 in the bank. And I said, I can help you out, but once again, it's, we're adding this on. So I wrote a check for $640, but he gave me $403 of it.
Go ahead.
Then he had to get home. His brother's wedding was like a month before.
He had to go to a wedding?
To Montana. And, we talked about it, and I'm like, I can help you out if you want me to, whatever, I can help you out.
I don't want whatever. You're in court now, Miss Bryce. You have to be specific about what you said to him and what he said to you, and I want you to trust me on this. I know what you're making up, and I know what you're not making up.
Right.
Do you understand?
Right.
So a month later, he had a wedding?
Yes.
Where were you when he asked you for the money for the trip?
We were at a bar.
And what did he say to you?
He just said that he didn't have the money to get there. Could I help him out?
And what did you say?
I said, I can do what I can, but...
And how much was that?
The plane ticket was $346.60, and the Greyhound bus that I put him on, because I waited till the last minute to get the plane ticket, and it was going to be $900. So I wasn't going to do that. I didn't have the money to do that, and he knew that. So I sent him on a Greyhound, and that was $159.
Okay, and that's it?
Yes.
And what date was that?
He left on the 1st of August and returned on the 8th.
And when did you and Mr. Emerson stop seeing each other?
He came in on the 11th, which was a Friday, at about noon.
To your salon?
My work, yes. I proceeded to give him and his son a haircut at no charge, thinking everything was okay, because we'd had no problems up till then. And I got a text message 6 hours later from him saying that we needed a break, and, this wasn't working, it was moving too fast, and... So we went back and forth through text messages, and I said, I have the right to know why you're feeling this way. I've done everything in the relationship I've given.
And he said?
He said, since you're giving me an ultimatum, it's over.
Okay, now, Mr. Emerson, it's your turn. June. June!
June. The mountain bike. I wrecked my mountain bike. It was going to cost about $400 to fix it. I had talked with Peggy about the price, and she offered to pay for it.
What would you talk to her about the price for?
Well, we're in a relationship. We talked about, I talked about wrecking my mountain bike and, what it was going to be to fix it. And
why would you tell her that? Why don't you tell your ex-wife that?
Actually, I did tell my ex-wife that.
Did she give you any money?
No.
You have living parents?
Yes.
Well, your mother loves you for a longer time than the plaintiff did. Why don't you call your mother and say, I broke my spoke?
I didn't need to. The plaintiff had already offered to pay for it.
She wouldn't need to have offered to have paid for it, Mr. Emerson, if you didn't have a problem. And you wouldn't have had a problem if you called your mother or your father or your brother or your sister and said, could you loan me some money? Then you wouldn't have even had to mention it to her.
It wasn't a loan. She just offered to pay for it, ma'am.
Well, what about Mr. Emerson? You need not do that. I only know you 8 weeks. And I wouldn't think of taking any money from you because I have a mother who gave birth to me. I have an ex-wife who I support along with my 2 children. I have a brother, sister, father, who I've known a long time. I wouldn't think of taking money from you. How about that?
Didn't even cross my mind.
Nah, that's because you're a creep. Mr. Emerson, you want to tell me what cathartic event happened between the 1st of August when you went home to your brother's wedding and the 11th of August when you had your hair cut and your son's hair cut for free at Miss Price's salon that caused you to send her a text message that said, we need a break?
It had been leading up to that.
I want you to tell me the cathartic event between August 1st when you left on a plane ticket that she purchased for you and when you came back on a Greyhound bus ticket that she had purchased for you that caused you to say, we need a break.
Okay, it was
Follow my train of thought, sir.
It was a big deal was the plane ticket. She tells you she's going to do something and she'll play along with the story. I'm going to do this. I've got it taken care of. Don't worry. I'll do it.
Just a second. Just a second. Let's get rid of the gobbledygook, sir. What you're complaining about is
the fact that she does not follow through.
Listen, what you're saying is she sent you home by bus instead of plane. Is that what you're telling me?
That was one of the problems, yes.
Oh, very good. Major creep. Major creep. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,154. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I'm disappointed there was never any agreement that any money would be paid back.
It was a loan, and he said he owed me nothing.
It was all offered with no strings attached.
He continued to say he owed me nothing.
There was nothing malicious about any of my activities.
I told him he couldn't get any more money when he came back.
I feel I did nothing wrong.
He dumped me.
Dr. Eric Schoenberg is suing pet shop owner Robert Meyer for selling him 4 diseased turtles. Eric says 3 of the turtles eventually died.
Order. All rise. Now, this is case number 288 on the calendar in the matter of Schoenberg versus Meyer. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat, please.
Is it Dr. Schoenberg?
Yes.
Are you a physician?
Yes.
Dr. Schoenberg, I read in your complaint that you purchased some turtles from the defendant's pet shop.
Correct.
You purchased them in order to create a habitat for them in your home. I don't know how large they were, but within a relatively short period of time, they got sick and died. You believe that Mr. Meyer is responsible for not only the turtles, but also for the substantial veterinary bills that you had in order to try to treat them for an illness that you say they had when you got them from him. Mr. Meyer says he offered you your money back when he found out that there was a problem, but he's certainly not responsible for these astronomical veterinary bills that were racked up as a result of your desire to treat the animals. How large were these turtles?
Between 4 and 5 inches, length of the shell.
And how much did you pay for them?
$17.99 each.
Had you ever had turtles before?
Yes.
What happened to them?
I had them when I was about 10 years old, and I had caught them when I was at camp, and I kept them till I went to college, and then I gave them to the Turtleback Zoo, which was a nearby zoo where I lived in New Jersey.
And they survived?
Never had a problem, no illness, did beautifully.
Did you have had other pets other than turtles?
No.
Really?
Really.
Interesting. Tell me why.
I have a fascination with turtles for a few reasons. One, right now I find them inspiring because it helps me to slow down. They're very graceful in the water, but when they're on land, they're very slow and they just seem very pensive. And I find them very inspiring. They live over 50 years, typically, these turtles. So I think for children, they're nice in that sense that you can really get to know them. And they do have different personalities. They're not all the same. They do take on individual personalities.
Explain that to me.
Well, part of the way we name them is the way they behave. Some are more friendly, some are more a little more aggressive. Some just they each take on a little different way about it.
You know, I'm an animal lover, so I don't want you to take this as meaning any disrespect. Sure. Are they smart?
Well, I have my veterinarian to attest the fact that they're certainly not dogs or cats, but they do, and certainly...
I mean, there's certain survival instinct that all animals have, so in that regard, they can survive. They look for water, they look for food, so okay, but...
They've been around a lot more than we have on this earth. Millions of years.
So have roaches.
That's true. Good. You got me there. But I really believe, and I'm sure if you ask most turtle lovers, they'll agree that they do take on different personalities, and they definitely do have a higher thought process, not as high as a dog, but higher than a roach.
I know that I'll probably get lots of mail about this because there are people that love every creature. In any event, when did you purchase the turtles?
May 27th, Memorial Day weekend, 2006.
Is that correct, sir?
Yes.
And how many turtles did you have in your shop?
8 or 9.
When had you gotten them?
About a week and a half prior to that.
From whom?
It's from a distributor. They're animal distributors. This one in particular was a reptile distributor.
When was the first sign that there was something untoward with the turtles?
Every day after work, I came home and fed them, so they were doing fine until June 5th. I built a large 8 by 12-foot enclosure for them outside, plenty of room to swim and sunbathe, which sunbathing is very important for them. And on June 5th, I went out to feed them, and I saw one of them convulsing in the water. So I immediately took that turtle out of the water, and I tried to find the other turtles, and at the time, I could only find one other. So I took the one that was convulsing plus that turtle, put him in a box, and I tried to call Mr. Meyer, but I could not get a hold of him. But I knew I had to do something quickly, because I know that turtles, if they get sick, it's something is critically wrong.
How do you know that?
Because I know they have a slow metabolism. It takes a while for them to show a problem. And I had them for 7 years, and they never showed any illness. So something like this obviously looked like, I can't mimic the motion, but it was an obvious convulsion.
Okay.
It looked like a seizure almost. And so I scrambled to try to find a veterinarian in my area who specialized in reptiles or hopefully turtles. And fortunately, everybody who I called referred me over to Dr. Burgess's office. That's Dr. Burgess there.
Step up, sir. Dr. Burgess, June 5th, receive a call from Dr. Schoenberg, who ultimately brings over the 2 turtles to you. What do you find?
Well, he sounded pretty urgently concerned, so we had him come in right away. And both turtles had problems. What struck me, however, was the one that he was concerned about, which was Sammy, looked seriously ill. And this turtle, on physical exam, the thing that I noticed mostly was how extremely weak he was. And these are really feisty little turtles. They're not weak animals. And this kid was pretty much flat out. That's the biggest thing that concerned me right off the top. On closer inspection, I noticed something that the average observer probably wouldn't notice, and that was there were a bunch of discolored areas on the underside of the shell, which is typical of shell rot. The average observer might just think that's a normal color pattern because they have kind of blotchy colors anyway. But I was suspicious that it didn't look right, so I grabbed a small metal probe and was probing these areas, and they were soft. So I knew that there was infection dissolving away the underlying bone and shell. The 2 things you want to know about shell rot is, number 1, it's usually easily treated. But it can, if it goes on long enough, get into the bloodstream, the bacteria can. Then they become septic, and then they'll go down quick. They'll convulse, all their organs are infected, and you can actually lose some of those. The second thing about shell rot is you almost never see it unless the turtles are housed in improper situations. In fact, 95% of all reptile cases we see are poor husbandry related. Crowding, dirty water, too cool of temperatures, not enough ultraviolet light. There's a lot of ways that the turtles can be stressed and their immune system falters. Then they become prone to infections from things that a normal turtle would resist.
And how long does that process generally take?
As advanced as this case was, that takes weeks at least to occur, sometimes months. But to dissolve bone and shell away like that to that extent takes a while. And again, on the surface, they were very unimpressive lesions, easily overlooked. In fact, Eric, who was babying these turtles, didn't notice the lesions either until I pointed them out to him. It just is something you have to kind of know to look for. Doing it for 20 years, I knew to look for it.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You got about 10 turtles from the wholesaler?
That's correct.
Are you under oath, Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
How many of them survived?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Dr. Eric Schoenberg claims pet shop owner Robert Meyer is responsible for selling him 4 diseased turtles. Eric says 3 of his pets suffered an untimely death.
Now, let me ask you this question, Dr. Burgess. If you had seen these turtles, say, a week before,
Mm-hmm.
would they have shown similar signs?
Probably yes. As advanced as these were, there would have been lesions there a week earlier as well.
So they would have been visible to you, for instance, on the 28th of May.
Yes, they should have been.
Now, one of the turtles died when?
The sickest turtle, Sammy, died within 24 hours of us seeing it. I got it on antibiotics, but it just basically went down quick.
And the others?
He had a total of 4, one of which died at home. Of the other 2 that were alive after the first day, the second turtle died about 8 days after we started treating it. And again, this raised alarm bells because we have a high percentage of success rate even with advanced shell rot. And I knew he had them warm enough, he had them in good conditions, they should have been surviving. So we cultured the shell after the second one died and found out that they had 2 species of bacteria there, one of which was particularly difficult to treat. And we ended up having to do double antibiotic therapy for weeks to save the last one, and we actually did manage to save that one. We were using antibiotics by injection in all 4 legs because you can't inject the shell. And after weeks and weeks of double antibiotic injections, this turtle ended up, unfortunately, with severe damage to both front legs. So essentially, her right front leg is virtually useless. Her left front leg is partially paralyzed. So she's in need of special conditions just to pull herself out of the water. He had to build a ramp down in the water that's at a shallow angle because she can't pull herself out of the water to bask. She does have basically permanent damage, so even though we healed the shell rot.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
So, Dr. Schoenberg, when did you finally contact Mr. Mayer, and what did he say when you contacted him?
June 14th was the day the second one died.
Okay.
So it was that day that I finally made contact with him.
How many calls did you make to him?
It was probably about 5. I have the exact phone records.
Did you speak to anyone?
I spoke with a young woman there, and they said he's not around. I'll have him call you. Never a return call.
When was the first time you got a message from him, Mr. Mayer?
It was before the 14th. It was probably the 12th or the 13th. I was probably busy, and I don't know why I didn't get the phone message before the 12th.
When you got it on the 12th, did you call him right back?
I think I probably waited until the 14th and to get a hold of him.
When you sell an animal at your pet shop, Mr. Mayer, do you instruct people, please take the pet to a vet, have it checked out? You know, you give a money-back guarantee if something is wrong within 24 hours or 48 hours. Is that what you do?
We state that we have a 7-day health guarantee, depending, it's 7 and 14, depending on the type of animal. In this particular case, for reptiles, it's 7 days that we guarantee the animal.
Do you have a piece of paper that says that?
No, I got nothing in writing about that.
I didn't give him anything in writing, but it's stated at the time of purchase.
Who states it?
The person selling the turtle. In that
well,
case,
that's
it was
hearsay,
myself.
sir. What you're supposed to do is...
It was myself that sold the turtle to Mr. Schoenberg.
Did you tell him that there was a 7-day
Yes, I
health
did.
guarantee? You remember that?
Yes, I always say that. Whenever I sell an animal, I was the boss. I employed teenagers, therefore I had to be very consistent with what I did.
But you are not there all the time.
That's correct.
And if you're not there all the time, that means that one of your teenage employees will be selling animals.
That's correct. But by setting precedents and by showing example with myself in the way I do it, and
what you have to do is put it in writing, Mr. Mayer.
I do have something that's filled out when somebody purchases an animal. In this case, it wasn't done, but in most cases it is.
You have to be consistent and done, Mr. Mayer.
That's correct.
So when you purchase an animal, and if you're giving a 7-day guarantee, then what you have to do is say, you have 7 days, take the animal to the vet, because that's where I'm going with my questions to the doctor, because he's already said that this situation would have presented itself had Mr. Schoenberg taken within 7 days the animals to a vet, had them checked out. He would have seen that there was something wrong with them. He would have had an option of returning them to you, and you would have given him his money back. Or if he chose to treat them, then the vet bill's on him. But if you're not told that you have that option of bringing it back, why aren't you responsible? And then you proceed, if this kind of situation, Mr. Mayer, comes from the wholesaler, not from you, but from the wholesaler, then you sue the wholesaler. While we're on that subject, you got about 10 turtles from the wholesaler?
That's correct.
Now, you're under oath, Mr. Mayer.
Yes.
How many of them survived?
After Mr. Schoenberg got in touch with me, I put a freeze on selling any of the turtles.
What did you do with them?
Well, I just stopped selling them until I
What
heard back.
did you, Mr. Mayer, let's not mince words, sir.
Sure.
What I want to know is what did you do with the other 6 turtles?
I had to close my store at the end of June, and so I adopted the rest of the turtles out, but all of them were alive.
All of them were alive when you
Yes.
adopted them out?
Yes.
Dr. Schoenberg, when you called Mr. Mayer and told him that this was a problem with your turtles, did he indicate to you any of the other turtles had a problem?
He didn't make any mention of the other animals. My wife felt like she wanted to adopt them and take care of them because she knew what was going to happen to them, because he indicated that his philosophy on animals, that is, if they become ill, he prefers euthanasia to treatment, even if the disease, as this one was, is completely treatable with antibiotics. This was not a terminal disease.
That's Mr. Schoenberg stated incorrectly. That what my philosophy on animals was that he stated that I should just that euthanasia is the key. If it's deemed that it's more of a business decision in my case, that if the animal is going to cost $700 or $1,000 to fix, and it's a $17.99 turtle, I can't stay in business and do that. And so I would not want to, but have to euthanize the turtles.
Dr. Schoenberg, Mr. Mayer says that he got these pets about a week and a half before you purchased them. Your expert says that this particular kind of disease, to have advanced to this point, can sometimes take months. Is that right, sir?
Usually weeks, occasionally months, yeah.
Well, Dr. Burgess, let's step up for one more second, sir. I'm going to pin you down.
Okay.
Sometimes it can take months.
Yes.
And sometimes it can take weeks.
Yes.
Could it take 1 week?
Not as advanced as this was.
When you saw the fourth turtle, was it ill?
Yes.
And you could tell right away?
From the shell, yes.
But when you saw the first turtle that was so ill, you couldn't tell from the outside that there was a very severe strain of bacteria that required a different kind of antibiotic.
Not just at a glance, nobody can tell.
Dr. Schoenberg, you went to the pet store and saw the habitat where they were living.
Yes.
And I must assume that as an intelligent and medically trained person, you would not have purchased these turtles were the habitat conditions unclean, unsanitary, looking unhealthy. They looked fine to you.
They looked adequate to me.
No. Let's not play. They looked fine to you, or you would not have purchased them and then invested in the habitat. Come on, let's not play.
Absolutely right.
Okay. Now, I would assume that you could not tell when you took the turtles home, at least from the 27th of May, according to you, until June 5th, that there was anything wrong with these turtles.
Correct.
Why do you ascribe something more to Mr. Meyer?
I have records here from animal control that show that there was a lot going on in his pet store that I didn't know about. And if you would like to see those documents, I'd be happy to share them with you that show the kind of conditions that were there that perhaps I didn't see that day. I just was focused on turtles, and I went right in.
I'm just interested in turtles.
Yes.
I'm not interested in whether he's a good husband, a bad father, a good son, a good nephew, whether he does other things. You saw the turtles.
Yes.
I mean, he didn't take the turtles out at night and put them in the toilet. He left them in the same conditions that you saw them in.
I don't know that.
Which were clean conditions. Well, he doesn't look like a nut. And nuts would have taken them out of a clean condition and put them in a dirty condition. For what purpose? That sounds ridiculous. So let's see what we have, Dr. Schoenberg. We have a medically trained man, buys the turtles, looks as if they're being kept and maintained in a perfectly adequate habitat. You don't see anything wrong with them. No signs of illness. According to you, they were playful and they were eating, appeared perfectly normal. So you are really asking him not to give you back the money for these turtles. You believe he is responsible for the veterinary bills, which were $2,200.
Actually, the veterinary bills were $1,400. The other amount of money is to get special housing for the turtle inside to take care of her since she's handicapped. Otherwise, I would have
Well,
housed
that's
her.
another decision that you made, Dr. Schoenberg. You made that decision. Certainly, if you were a Darwinist, you would have said, maybe this little turtle, unfortunately, doesn't want to live for the next 50 years, having to pull herself out of the water because she's paralyzed in one leg and partially paralyzed in another. That's a decision that you made, and I can't fault you for that decision, but you can't visit that on Mr. Mayer. I mean, I'm an animal lover, and I would, quite frankly, love to look at Mr. Mayer and paint him as the devil if he sold animals that he knew were ill. But I guarantee you, Mr. Mayer is not an expert in turtles. Am I correct?
That's correct.
That's a very limited interest base. Dr. Burgess, what was your initial visit for the sick turtle?
It would have been probably 150 at most, I would think. And
150?
That was for two turtles.
And for the two turtles. And then he brought you a third one.
Yeah.
And a fourth one.
Fourth one had died on the premises. I never saw the fourth one.
You saw three. You saved one.
Yes.
Three died. Anything you want to say to me, Mr. Meyer?
I'm an animal lover myself, and I'm sorry for the turtles that have died, but in a business I can't control whether someone goes outside of my vision and treats an animal.
Mr. Mayer, if I had any inkling that you had prior knowledge that these turtles were ill when you sold them, my decision here would have been totally different. But I think that Dr. Schoenberg, with his medical expertise and his expertise in these particular kinds of reptiles, if he couldn't tell that there was anything wrong with them for at least 10 days, then I can't fault you. But you are responsible for the initial visits for the pets. That's $150 each. That's $300. And the cost of them are $54. Yes.
I'd like to say that I got these animal control records. There were 17 complaints. One of them was that he housed different reptiles together. So there's every indication that there was definitely animal neglect on his part, indicating that he was not treating the animals humanely, including reptiles. And now if you house reptiles, turtles with lizards, or mixing
Did you
them up.
see the turtles housed with lizards?
I didn't, but he could have done it when I wasn't there.
Well, Dr. Schoenberg, doesn't sound right to me. Doesn't sound like it's common sense that you have a habitat for lizards and you have a habitat for turtles. And after everybody leaves the store, you take the time to put them all together in an unsanitary condition. That doesn't make sense, Dr. Schoenberg. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $354. That's all. Thank you.
Party Judge Judy, you may step out.
I think really the big picture of this case was not about the money. It was about the principle that an animal is a precious life.
I think Mr. Schoenberg had expectations that were beyond what is reasonable.
This was not a terminal illness. This was an infection that clearly could have been treated with some simple antibiotics.
I'm an animal lover. All of the animals that were in my care were under good care.
These animals were worth saving. Turtles, I know, maybe are not dogs to most people, but to me they're very precious.
That was the reason I got into the business in the first place, was because I did love animals.
It's buyer beware, and perhaps, you should do a background check when you're purchasing animals.
Just keep records of the people who purchase animals and make sure that they have signed statements.
I kind of had trust that if the store was open and left open by the government, that it was considered safe and clean, but I guess not.
Is suing his brother, Gene Giese, and his fiancée, Radapi Osborne, for airline tickets, clothing, and school supplies purchased on behalf of Radapi's daughter.
Yeah, this is case number 216 on the calendar in the matter of Giese versus Osborne. Giese. You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Ladies, have a seat, please.
Mr. Giese, this gentleman is your brother, is that
That's
correct? And the lady standing next to him is his girlfriend.
That's correct.
And I assume that you're her daughter.
Yes, ma'am.
You lived in New Orleans?
Yes, ma'am.
And the family were victims of Hurricane Katrina, according to your complaint. And there came a time when either you were asked or volunteered to help them take care of her daughter because they were rendered homeless by Katrina. You did. You sent plane tickets and you had expenses. And I believe that your brother and his girlfriend acknowledged that the money that you spent was well over $1,000. Would you agree with that?
No, ma'am.
Well, we'll see. In any event, you claim that after Marina went home, Miss Osborne and Mr. Giese, your brother, received a check from FEMA in the amount of some $26,000.
To my knowledge, that's correct.
What was the amount of the check you received?
We received a couple of different checks.
Well, give me each amount and what they were for.
For personal property loss, I received $9,500. Mr. Giese received a little over $10,000 for personal property loss.
How much did you receive, sir?
$10,040, I think.
Right about $10,000. Okay, so you received approximately $20,000.
Yes, ma'am.
Anything else for living expenses?
We submitted receipts for rental reimbursements.
And?
We received them.
How
and
much?
We continued. Well, it came in lump sums of $2,000.
So how much did you receive in total?
Probably about 2 times $2,000, $4,000.
So $24,000.
Yes, ma'am.
Anything else?
Various local agencies, churches were able to help us out in our journey to get to where we are today.
Good. And your brother?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Let me ask you this question, because you look like nice people, and I gather that this has created a rift in your family, which is unfortunate. Now, Miss Osborne, would you agree that any money that Mr. Giese spent on your daughter were necessaries for her?
Absolutely.
So, my question, Miss Osborne, would you agree that you, Miss Osborne, are responsible for the necessaries for your child?
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely.
That's what the law says.
Absolutely.
Good. So, tell me, Mr. Giese, cutting to the chase, because I have other things to do. You volunteered to be of assistance during this time of crisis.
Yes and no. I was asked, and I agreed to it at that point, correct? Yes.
And how long did Marina stay with you?
She was with me a total of 10, 11 days, something like that.
And you, I assume, have receipts, sir, for all of the expenses that you believe you should be reimbursed for.
All except for one, Judge, because when the Katrina first happened, my mother actually called me and asked me if I can send them some money so that they can get their car fixed to get them down to Phoenix, where my younger brother was living, and she was actually there visiting with him at the time.
Okay. Well, if your mother asked you to do that, there's no agreement to pay him back. What I'm asking you is, we're talking in this case about the money that you laid out for Marina. Now, what bills do you have?
I have all the plane tickets and everything here. Plane tickets, receipts, school supplies. There's also several other expenses that I incurred that I'm not suing for.
Okay. Well, let's go through them. Plane ticket was $275.79.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay?
We paid him back for those airplane tickets, Your Honor.
Just a second. I know that you gave him a check for $500. Who takes allergy medication?
She needed allergy medication when she was there, yes, because we had a dog in the house, and it was very...
Is that right?
It was affecting her very badly when she got
I'm just
there.
checking over all of these things. Dog treats.
That's not supposed to be in there, ma'am.
I don't care. I mean, if you're giving me something, sir, then I'm supposed to be able to rely on it. We have $84 in for your school supplies.
Yes, ma'am. May I say something, Your Honor?
Yes.
When she was in Illinois, right after the flood, my brother had taken her to the FEMA tent where the Red Cross and other agencies were there to attend to their needs. A lot of the things that were bought considered school supplies I would never agreed with because...
I don't care whether you agreed with them or not. You weren't there.
No, you're right.
You weren't there. And then there was another plane ticket, is that right?
Correct. One way to...
For $129.
Correct.
Okay. Let me tell you this, sir. The only thing that I have not considered is this long laundry list of stuff, which is some yours and some hers.
Correct.
And I'm not going through them and separating it, you know. We're not talking about that. So you know what I get, Mr. Giese? $571.
Okay, but like I was telling you, Judge, I sent them $300. It was not even my choice.
Just a second. It's not. I don't care whether it was your choice or not, sir. It was not a loan made to your brother that you can sue for.
That was a loan made to my brother.
No, it
ma'am.
wasn't, sir. It was something.
Absolutely.
No, Mr. Giese, you are incorrect. You said your mother called you and asked you to send money to your brother. They needed to get their car fixed.
Because she did not have the money to send to them
I understand
at
that.
that time.
That does not create a loan, sir. That is actionable in court.
But
do you understand?
Yes, I understand.
And
ma'am,
you don't even discuss that in your complaint.
But can I just say one more thing, Judge, please?
You sure can.
The reason for this entire lawsuit had nothing to do with the money, okay? I was in the middle of a separation with my wife in Virginia. I moved to Denver to be close to my family, to get the support that I needed from my family. My brother, in turn, stole one of my credit cards, charged up $1,650 in 8 days on this credit card.
Well, that's outrageous.
Yes, ma'am, it is. And
well, Mr. Giese, that's outrageous.
Because
you would acknowledge that that's outrageous.
Because he stole this from me, Your Honor, okay? Then they agreed to pay me the entire thing back. They paid me $1,000 for the credit card expenses. Now, when I tried...
Did they give you the $1,000?
No, ma'am. My mother gave me the $1,000.
Under his instruction.
Oh,
my mother
came
gave
from me because we couldn't speak to each other at the time. We were arguing and fighting.
So you gave your mother the $1,000?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that right?
That's right.
Okay.
Well, when I asked her about it, I said, where did this come from? Because I did not want to take the money as long as it was from my mother.
Gotcha.
And she said, it doesn't matter as long as you get it.
Now I understand why you felt entitled to bring this lawsuit over a relatively small amount of money that was incurred during a period of national tragedy because your brother stole from you. You were right.
He stole from me, and then after I filed this lawsuit, he called me up and threatened violence on me once again, as he always has, because he's an alcoholic.
Mr. Giese, I was just going to say to you, your brother drinks.
Way too much.
I can see that he drinks.
And I can show you the credit card receipt that when he stole my card, the first 3 places he went was the liquor store.
Listen to me. I've been in the business a very long time. You didn't need to tell me that he has a severe alcohol problem. He doesn't recognize the fact that people who are in the business of knowing whether somebody suffers from alcohol or other substance abuse can tell in a minute, Mr. Giese. And if your life is being destroyed because you're an alcoholic, I suggest you get some help for it.
And destroying everybody else's around
And I suggest, Ms. Osborne, that it's wrong for you to allow your daughter to live in a household with an alcoholic. You put your daughter in a situation where she's living with an alcoholic, and that's unreasonable. Do we understand each other?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I see your mother is sitting over there. Are you annoyed with him?
Both of them.
That's not correct.
Oh, you're annoyed with both of them. I would be annoyed with both of them, too. I don't get it.
And later today,
$2,500 on a $10,000 car?
Correct.
That was a very bad trade that you made.
My father was of no help at the time.
Should have asked for somebody for advice.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Daryl Giese claims his brother, Gene Giese, and fiancée Radapi Osborne owe for money loaned after Hurricane Katrina. The defendants claim Daryl was supposedly helping out in a time of need.
Okay. Right now, they owe you, according to Miss Osborne, who acknowledges, because this lawsuit is about the expenses for Marina, who acknowledges that if you laid out money for Marina, she is responsible for that because those are necessaries for her children, right? So I have legitimate expenses of $571, and you sent them $500.
Yes, ma'am.
That's what I have. So you owe them $71. It's a shame that after all of this, a family clearly had gotten along well enough to be able to make a phone call and get some cash sent, should have any issues with regard to money. And if your brother was nice enough to send you $300 because you needed it, you should have sent him back the money. That's your moral obligation.
Yes, ma'am.
Whether or not you had a contract with him or not.
I did give him a brand new living room set and a dining room set.
Listen to me. Unless you had an agreement with him that that living room set and the dining room set was in lieu of the $300, that's a gift. And what I'm telling you is, if he was nice enough, because I see your mother is sitting over there.
Yes, ma'am.
So she's probably annoyed with you. Would that be, are you annoyed with him?
Both of them.
That's not
Both of them.
correct.
Oh,
I did
both
not.
of them. You're annoyed with both of them. I would be.
I did not
Miss
call
Giese, is that right? I would be annoyed with both of them, too. I don't get it. Okay. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $71. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Wait right here, please.
All my brother does is take advantage of the people around him.
He's angry at the world right now, and I happen to be at the end of this hill.
And then he pushes them to the side.
I'm a loving person, and I learn to forgive, too.
Or punches you in your face and puts you in the hospital.
I hope that he has a successful life.
He is not part of my family anymore.
Debit card charges and personal belongings.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Case 2131, Gutierrez versus George.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Miss Gutierrez, this is your mother.
Yes, ma'am.
And who is this?
My grandmother.
And that's your daughter?
Yes.
I'm reading the complaint and the answer, and this is what your complaint is about. You claim that your mother had you falsely arrested, as a result of which you spent 4 months in jail. While you were in jail, it is your claim that your mother used a debit card of yours, I think $3,000 worth, and you had some belongings at her house that you want. I gather that you've had some problems in your own life. You have at least 3 children.
Yes.
Was the state ever involved in placing the children in foster care?
No.
And what about your daughter?
My daughter, yes.
And how old is your daughter?
She's 19 months.
At what point did the state become involved with your daughter?
In May of this year, May 18th of this year, when there was false allegations made against, when my mom refused to give me my daughter back.
In May, when you brought your daughter to your mother's house, when?
I called my brother on May 17th of 2022, and I asked him to babysit my daughter.
Your brother. And does your brother live with your mother?
Yes, he was staying with her at that time.
So on the 17th, you asked your brother, who was staying with your mother, if he would babysit for your daughter. Where were you going?
I was needing to go to Fresno, and I had just received my income tax check. So I needed to go to Fresno, and I was on foot because my car was impounded the day prior.
Were you going alone?
To Fresno, yes.
So you brought your daughter on the 17th of May to your mother's house, and your brother was supposed to watch him, according to you, while you went to Fresno.
Yeah, he met me down the street, actually, because there's a restraining order. So I didn't actually go to the resident.
Who has a restraining order?
My mother has a restraining order on me.
Is the restraining order that she has against you a final order or a temporary order?
It's good for 3 fight of the court date. Didn't consent to anything.
Okay, so it was a default.
I don't know what that means.
It means you didn't show up and they entered a final order of protection in favor of your mother. So you're not permitted to go to her home.
Right.
Since that's not really the subject of this, I don't have to get into it. In any event, you went on the 17th, you dropped your child off at your mother's house, your brother was there, and then what happened?
I finally got to Fresno, I got a ride, I got to the check cashing place. It literally took me...
Don't tell me, I'm not interested in that. 17th, you dropped the child off. You were supposed to pick the child up when?
That evening.
On the 17th?
Yes.
And did you?
I showed up it was a little before 10. I showed up, I called my brother. I said, I'm down the street. He was like, yeah, I'll be right there.
10 o'clock at night?
It was almost, ma'am, I was on foot. And
it's just a second. I asked you 10 o'clock at night.
It was right before 10, yes.
Okay.
When I got there, I called him. It had been about 15 minutes had gone by, and I called him back, and I said, where are you at? And he said, Mom won't let me leave with the baby. And I said, what do you mean? And he said, Mom won't let me leave with the baby. My mother instinct kicked in, and I went in like fight or flight, and I walked down to my mom's house, and I knocked on the door and was asking for my daughter. I finally came to my...
Okay, so when your brother said that to you, instead of going to the police, you violated the order of protection.
I ended up leaving and calling the sheriff.
Okay, but you didn't. You went...
Of course, yes. I was going for my daughter. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And what happened at 10 o'clock at night or 10:30?
Yes. I finally realized that about 5 minutes of being at the house, I was like, okay, you need to leave. So I left because she wouldn't open the door to give me my daughter. I left. I called the sheriff. And so I told them the situation. So they had walked down to my mother's and let her know. Told her that if she did not, that she needed to get my daughter back. But because it was late, the baby was already asleep. And so the cops that came back down to me, and they said, look, we don't, because they knew me.
Whatever. I'm allowing you to give me a certain amount of hearsay so that I can make this story make sense.
Oh, okay.
Do you understand? But don't tell me because they knew you, what they thought.
Yes, ma'am.
You were told to come back in the morning.
Yeah, the agreement was that between my mom and the sheriff was that I could pick up Malia in the morning. The sheriff told me to call before 6 o'clock in the morning before he got off his shift, and that he would come back out and do another standby. The next morning came. Between me and my grandma, I had to call my mom. And
no, just a second. What does that mean between you and your grandma? Your agreement was you were supposed to call the sheriff. The sheriff, according to you, before 6.
I called my grandma.
No, not the grandma. The agreement was you weren't supposed to call your grandma. You were supposed to call the sheriff.
Right, but I needed a ride. I needed a ride. So I called my grandma to have her come pick me up.
Just a second. Where were you?
I was staying at a friend's house. I didn't live in Selma.
Just a second. You were staying at what friend's house?
The sheriff came, got behind us, and tried to pin us in, and my grandma went to take off.
So your grandmother was driving?
Yes, ma'am.
And she was trying to evade the police to go someplace else.
Kimberly Gutierrez claims her mother, Rhonda George, owes for debit card charges and personal belongings.
You were staying at what friend's house?
My friend Isaiah's.
Isaiah?
Yes. I stayed the night there waiting for my daughter.
Just a second. Isaiah. Isaiah what?
Bonilla.
And what is your relationship with him?
He's my best friend. He's been my best friend since high school.
Where are you living now?
I live with my grandmother right now since I was released.
Full time?
Right now, yes.
What do you mean right now, yes?
I'm in the process of getting my own place.
Okay. So you called your grandmother and then?
Called the sheriff.
And then?
Waited for the sheriff to respond.
And then?
The sheriff did not respond for a few hours.
Okay, so you were waiting for the sheriff to respond. The sheriff is, according to you, 19 months old? 19 months old. And she had, prior to that, been living with you?
Yeah, she was living with me all the time, yes.
She was living with you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so now let's get back to this arrest that you had. According to your papers, your daughter was with you up until that time. What time did she wake up in the morning?
Usually she wakes up between 7:30 and 8 o'clock in the morning.
Okay. Well, then could you tell me why, if she wakes up between 7:30 and 8, why you would even contemplate picking her up before 8 o'clock in the morning?
Because one of my issues was with certain officers that would have been responding, and the officer that responded the night of the incident, he told me, if you wanted me to be the officer to respond, you need to call me before I get off my shift.
Fine, but he didn't respond to you. But according to you, he didn't respond to you.
No, it was a different officer.
So then my question to you is...
They did respond at 7 o'clock in the morning.
And did what?
It was a horrible mess.
Well, he did what?
They responded. When they responded, he showed up. The officer told me that he did not want to be there. He said, if I have my way, you'll never see your daughter again. And I looked at him, and I said, wow. Okay.
What do you mean you looked at him? Where were you when you looked at him?
I was right next to him, but I just...
Where, at the precinct or at your house?
No, down the street from my mom's.
Okay, so he responded to you when you were down the street at your mother's house, and he said, I'm not getting involved in this, and if I had my way, you would never have your daughter. And so what did you do?
So at that point, my grandma pulled up, and I told him, I said, your assistance is no longer needed, and that my grandma could just get my daughter. And he says, well, you already called me. The deputy did. So I said, okay, whatever. He asked me if I had somewhere to live, and I said yes. And whatever. And so he went down to my mom's. When he went down to my mom's, he was supposed to just go down there and get my daughter. When he was taking too long, I could walk so far this way, and I know this woman very well, okay? So I just imagined what was being said about me. Well, I guess the back door is screwed and nailed shut at the house. I don't know why.
I don't know. It's not important.
Yeah. So anyways, my best friend went over the back fence.
What do you mean your best friend?
Isaiah Bonilla.
Oh, so you brought Isaiah with you.
He went.
Just a second. So you have your grandmother, and then you've got Isaiah, your best friend, also to go to your mother's house.
Yes, ma'am. He got my daughter.
Isaiah brought her to where you were.
Yes.
And then what happened?
I started walking back towards Isaiah's house. When I started walking back towards Isaiah's house, my grandma pulled up in her car and she was like, "Are you ready to go get your car out of the impound lot?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm ready." And so I got in her back seat with my daughter. When I got in the back seat, I got in the middle. Well, then she was like, "Well, I don't know what's going to happen. Your mom's over there saying a whole bunch of stuff to the deputies, so I don't know what's going to happen." And so I was like, "Well, I got to go get my stuff from Isaiah's." So I go to jump back out the car. As I go to jump back out the car.
But just a second. Now you have your daughter.
Because I needed my wallet. My bag was at Isaiah's. My purse and everything was at Isaiah's. I was going to go back and pick it up. Well, right when we were going to go back, the sheriff came, got behind us, and tried to pin us in, and my grandma went to take off.
So your grandmother was driving.
Yes, ma'am.
And she was trying to evade the police to go someplace else.
Yes, ma'am.
And how many police cars were involved?
One.
Were there ever any more than one police car?
Once we got to the police department, of course, there's a police department.
No, I'm talking about the number of police cars. So there's a police car now.
Coming behind us? No. It was just one.
It was just one?
Yes, ma'am.
And you were accelerating to get there? Was the police car siren on?
No.
Well, how did you know that he was trying to pull you over?
Because he tried to hit her car.
Oh, that would give you a clue. So you're telling me he tried to hit your grandmother's car without notifying you in any way to pull over?
Yes, ma'am. That's why I spent 4 months in jail, and I beat my case. I went to trial and beat my case. Everything was dismissed.
I'm not responsible if you and your grandmother were arrested.
Yes, ma'am.
And that was in May.
Yes, ma'am.
And now uncross your arms. And now we're in December.
Yes, ma'am.
Of the same year.
Yes, ma'am.
And you're out of jail.
Yes, ma'am.
You've been out of jail for about?
Since August 25th.
Who does your daughter live with?
Right now, she's with the mentor. She's my ex-husband's aunt, ma'am.
And who placed her with your ex-husband's aunt?
I did.
Not the court?
No, I requested her.
Does the child's great aunt have guardianship?
No,
custody?
I'm getting my daughter back, ma'am.
But for the last 3 months, she's been with this aunt.
Right, because Child Protective Services did get involved, and Child Protective Services, I've been doing everything that...
Well, that's what I asked you. I asked you whether Child Protective Services
Child Protective Services did get involved with my daughter, yes.
Did. That's what I assumed.
And I've been drug testing, I've been
doing...
Just
a second.
Yes, ma'am.
That's what I assumed, that Child Protective Services was involved. And so if Child Protective Services are involved, then they are overseeing the child's placement with the aunt. You have an ongoing case.
Yes, ma'am.
Probate court.
No, not probate.
Which one? Family court?
Family court, yes.
When was the case opened with regard to your daughter in the family court?
May 18th, the day I got arrested, ma'am.
And that child became involved with the foster care system in May. Okay, so your grandmother also spent a little time in jail. How much?
2 weeks.
I quite frankly don't understand your case.
While I was in jail, Your Honor, while I was incarcerated, my mom had all my debit cards, my ID. She had went and actually, because of me getting arrested, she had went to Isaiah's and picked up all of my stuff.
You mean, just a second. Let me understand this. It is your claim that the reason that you had to go to Isaiah's house was to get your pocketbook. Isaiah, clearly, from what you tell me, knew of the problem because he was part of this little conspiracy to get your daughter out of the house and was at the back of the house to pick up your daughter who was being put over the fence. So why would Isaiah give your mother?
Because she went over there with a baseball bat and busted out his windows. On February 4th this year, I lost my twins, okay? And that was the first time I had contacted my mother because I was going through it and I messaged her and I told her, I said, I really need my mom right now. If anything, I need my mom right now.
Kimberly Gutierrez is accusing her mother, Rhonda George, of wrongfully using her debit card and keeping her belongings.
So why would Isaiah give your mother?
Because she went over there with a baseball bat and busted out his windows. And the reason why all of my things were at my mother's was because I hadn't lived at my mom's for over a year.
What your case is about
is my belongings.
You claim that your mother went over and got your wallet from Isaiah's, because I asked you what you were doing here. I certainly am not looking into the allegations of false arrest. It sounds as if you did the absolute wrong thing in trying to regain your daughter, whose custody, actually, you lost at a dispositional hearing and was determined to be a dependent child and placed in foster care. That's what happened here.
Right.
Okay, so I'm not even addressing your claims of false arrest.
Okay,
what you did was actually the wrong thing. I said, so what are you suing for? Now,
my,
you said
my
you're...
belongings,
okay.
my
what,
money.
Just a second. What money?
She used my CalFresh, which is my EBT food stamps, and my CalWorks, which is my cash aid through the welfare department.
Just a second. So you're suing her for taking your food stamps and your welfare check?
Right.
Just a second. Your food stamps and your welfare check.
And this is the statement from my tax return of all the money that was on there.
On where?
On my debit card. It had over $3,000 of my belongings that was at her house.
Just a second. You haven't lived in your mother's house?
I moved back to my mother's in the
Just
beginning.
a second.
Yes, ma'am.
You hadn't lived in your mother's house, according to what you said to me. Whitney, was it a year ago? Didn't you say that you moved out of
my
your mother?
mom allowed me to come back.
Because there was an order of protection.
She had called me. I was living in Fresno, ma'am.
Just a second. You hadn't lived in your mother's house. You said you were living with your grandmother. For how long were you living with your grandmother before May?
I said I was living with my grandmother right now. I was living in Fresno, ma'am.
I want to know what property you think...
My clothing, my husband's clothing, my daughter's bassinet. I had jewelry there. I had all of my clothing.
Why would all of your clothing be there? You were living with your grandmother.
I hadn't moved into my grandmother's until I got out of jail. I was living in Fresno. And my mom...
Just a second.
You're not letting me talk.
I'm not understanding your movements.
Okay, my mom kicked me out in 2021, okay? My daughter was just a few weeks old. My mom kicked me out due to her boyfriend.
She kicked you out?
Yes.
And?
When she kicked me out, I went through Marjorie Mason, and Marjorie Mason had placed me in hotels. I was placed in hotels for about 3 or 4 months, okay? And then it was about January of 21. I was at this time, I was pregnant with twins. They had genetic defects. On February 4th this year, I lost my twins, okay? And that was the first time I had contacted my mother because I was going through it, and I messaged her and I told her, I said, I really need my mom right now. If anything, I need my mom right now. My daughter, she had not seen my daughter. She was not a part of my daughter's life. I did not speak to my mother, nothing. So she made an agreement.
Do you have any of your daughter's property?
No.
Okay, now, let's talk about this card. Did you pick up her property from Isaiah? That's either a yes or a no. After the 18th of May.
Well, how do I answer that when I did pick up her property, but her cards were not in there? Her driver's license wasn't in there. Her food stamp card wasn't in there.
What were you doing at Isaiah's?
So she asked...
Was this when she was in jail?
Yes, right after she got arrested. So I went down there. No problem. He handed it right to me. Look in my wallet, make sure everything's in there. Like I said, I don't know if it was her driver's license or ID was missing, her food stamp card, and the other card, the bank card. I don't know how to get proof, but her best friend, he cashed out everybody money. There was a bunch of people, even himself.
The information right here.
Even himself and his girlfriend. I don't want to get into the whole...
I don't want to get into it either. It's far too complicated for me. Is what you're telling me that you never used a card that she had?
No, I did not.
Because I'm not concerned about food stamps or welfare.
I did not.
You're suing the wrong person. You were in jail, so you didn't need money from welfare. What proof do you have?
I have my bank statement.
What proof do you have that your mother withdrew money?
She was the one that went and picked up my cards.
Oh, I don't know that. That's not what she says, and you have no proof. Isaiah's not here, correct?
No.
I don't doubt you when you say that somebody used your card. I just need proof to show.
My mother, I know that she was supposed to get my daughter from CPS. She was supposed to go get a crib with my card, and I have and my grandma can.
I just want you to show me.
Ma'am.
No, that your mother I believe that people used your card.
She used my card.
No, I don't know that. I need you to show me proof that your mother
How am I
used
supposed to show? I have the...
She did not. I just want you to show me proof that any of these were used. I mean, we have a lot of PlayStations, DoorDash, Amazon Marketplace.
And
all
I
of
was
those.
locked up throughout that whole time.
I understand that. I suggest that you concentrate on getting yourself together. If you want to reunite your family, I suggest that you put your priorities in order.
Oh, they are in order.
Evidently not.
I work, I have a job, I go to school, I'm getting my own place, but I'm going to court. I'm getting my kids back.
Good.
Can I give you this?
I don't know what it is.
Well, I just want you to look at it.
Can I see it? You're telling me this is part of your daughter's criminal history? What is this?
No, I'm just showing you she just got out of jail just a couple of days ago.
They haven't picked up charges, Your Honor.
You were arrested on November 28th?
Yes.
I'm not going to let you tell me about this. You have a lawyer?
Yes.
As I said, Ms. Gutierrez, if you're trying to work to get your family back together,
Yes, ma'am.
and your kids back together,
Yes, ma'am.
it would be a good idea to think about having more children until you get these children back under your roof. We're done here. Your case is dismissed.
You have a good day.
This court is adjourned.
Oh, I love her decision. I don't want to have nothing to do with any of them. They've burned their bridges.
Perfect example of suffer the little children. So you have 3 kids, none of whom live with you. They go back and forth between a grandmother who would participate in evading the police, but where the police had to stop them by ramming the car.
Yeah, I was going to say there was something in the papers about a crash and...
She said he tried to ram my mother's car. So fingers crossed for her.
For damages from an assault.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Case 2122, Wheat Shilling Hensley.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Wheat, it is your claim that the defendants assaulted you.
Yes, Your Honor.
And this is what I gather from reading your complaint. On August 10th of this year, your cat was injured. How was your cat injured?
That I don't know. The morning of the August 10th, I had let him outside. When he came back in, he was acting peculiar. I picked him up and noticed that he had 2 long, deep gashes on between his chest and his stomach.
At what time was this?
Approximately 10:45, 10:30.
And the defendants work at the vet where you have taken the cat before.
Not this particular cat. I have 3 cats total, and I had good service from them, so naturally I went back.
They work at a vet where you had taken an animal, maybe not this one, before.
Correct.
So at that time you put the cat in the car and drove over to where the vet's office is.
Yes.
And during that time, they had a COVID protocol in the vet's office. And the protocol, I assume, correct me if I'm wrong, because I know I've taken my pets to the vet during COVID. You get to the parking lot, you call, they come out, they check in the animal and what's wrong. And then they come out when someone is ready to see the animal. They bring them inside. You do not come into the office. Is that your protocol?
Correct.
Is that your COVID protocol? Well, it was in a couple of vets where I took our dogs. Were you aware of that protocol?
No, Your Honor, not at all.
So tell me, what happened when you got to the vet's office? Is there a parking lot?
There is. There was one other vehicle there. It was pulled up in the front of the door, the very first spot.
The papers indicate that there is a chart or a video of the parking lot. Is that correct?
We drew a diagram that they based that on.
Okay. So that would be a fair representation, sir, of the vet clinic, and there are parking spaces in front of it?
I believe so, yes.
Where did you park? Yes, please.
My car, I'm assuming at this point, the main door is approximately over here.
Okay.
There was the vehicle that I was mentioning is parked here, and I was parked here.
Okay, but you were parked right in front.
Yes.
Okay, is that right?
Yes.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay, so what happened when you got there?
Well, I walked around the back of the car, got the cat out. He was the younger of the 2. She was already out front with a...
You mean the young lady in the blue sweater?
Yes.
Is that who you're talking about?
Yes,
You're
Your
looking
Honor.
over there. What is your last name?
Hensley.
Miss Hensley.
She was already outside with a customer at
Your
that
Honor,
point.
that was... It wasn't me.
Don't speak. Okay, so you say Miss Hensley was already outside with another patient.
I thought it was Miss Hensley. It could have been another lady that worked there, but it was similar in youth and.
Okay. So somebody came out and was talking to another.
They were already there, and so they stopped me. I was proceeding up to the door, and I, like I say, I have pictures of the signage that they have. So you can't read the signage until you get right up on top of it.
Okay, so you went to the door, and what happened?
I went to go in, and I was stopped.
By whom?
The lady that was outside.
Okay, and the person who was outside stopped you?
And said that you couldn't go in, so I stopped. I told him that it was an emergency, that my cat was injured.
You told the lady outside?
That was outside, absolutely. Told him that he was injured and that he needed to see somebody immediately, the vet. And they suggested that I needed to call, and I couldn't understand that because I was already there. I said, "Can't you just go inside and let them know that I was here?" That seemed reasonable to me.
What they told you was to get back into your car with the cat and call the...
No.
Or just call?
Just call. So I said,
So she was talking to the person who I assume is a female, because you say Miss Hensley or someone resembling her. They were taking care of another patient that was outside.
Yeah, when they stopped me before I got...
And said, stop.
Correct.
Call, right?
Correct.
And you were upset, and you said, well, why can't you just go inside and tell them that I'm here?
Yeah,
because she was with somebody else.
Well, it appeared to me that they were done.
Okay, I don't care what appeared to you.
Yes.
She was outside with somebody else. She told you to call. What happened next?
Well, I set the cat down, and I actually sat on the concrete and waited. That person had...
Waited for what?
That person left. As soon as they got done talking with me, they went into the building. And I waited about 5 minutes. And then I guess it was Miss Hensley now. She came out and asked me now if I hadn't, at that time, that there was no vet on duty. And so then that's when I got up. I was upset. I said that I needed to leave. I did use an explicitive.
What did you say?
Well, I said that I needed to get out of there so I could get some help.
Okay.
And then I picked up my cat and the carrier, and I was proceeding to leave.
And?
That's when the other plaintiff,
Miss Schilling came out,
and she confronted me, and she started into a huge rant about how she wasn't going to stand there and listen to this or whatever.
Were you shouting at Miss Hensley?
No.
She told you that there was no vet on duty.
Right.
And you got up and you said, I'm going to get the whip out of here.
Correct.
That's it.
Yeah.
Okay.
The fact that I had waited 5 minutes, I was, it was upsetting. So then when she
Miss Schilling came out and?
She started into a huge rant.
What did she say? A rant is a conclusion. What did she say?
Well, she had her voice raised. She was shouting at me.
What did she say?
She said that she wasn't going to stand there and let me say things to this other woman. So then I just looked at her and I told her basically to shut up. So
is that what you said to her?
I told her to shut up.
Okay, so you again used an expletive.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, there was no reason for
it.
Okay.
I'm just asking you what happened.
Yes.
So you told her to shut up.
I did.
And?
That's when she came over. She was probably about 3 foot away, and she stepped right over into me, and she put her body on mine. So she stepped right into me, pushed me back with her body, and she told me, I'm not afraid of you, I'm not intimidated by you. And I told her, don't touch me, get off of me. And I told her twice, and she never moved. I put my cat down, and I moved her off of me.
What do you mean? I
pushed her back off of me.
You put your hands on her.
She was already on me.
How was she on you, sir? What physical part of the defendant?
Her chest, her entire body was leaning on me at that point. She body checked me.
I'd like you to go over there and show me where Miss Schilling came out and where the three of you were standing.
Okay, I have pictures as well.
Okay.
So here being the front door.
Yeah, right.
And then she moved over to me and put her body on mine.
When Miss Hensley came out and told you there was no vet, why didn't you just get into your car?
I was leaving.
Well, when she came out, why didn't you just go into your car?
No. The first lady that I encountered never told me there was no vet.
No. I understand that. When Miss Hensley came out and told you there was no vet, why didn't you just get into your car?
I was leaving. I had picked up my cat and literally was walking away. I had walked from here to approximately here. In that meantime, she came out, and I had my back to her at first, and she started to yell.
No, he wasn't. He was yelling in my face.
Just a second. I'm going to let you have a turn as soon as he's finished. Go ahead.
She started to yell at me, and that's when I told her.
Okay, go back.
Thank you.
And then what happened? So now she put her body on you. You put both hands on her and pushed her back.
To push her off me.
And then what happened?
Then she struck me.
How did she strike you?
With her open hand.
Where did she strike you?
On my face.
Okay, when you pushed her, she slapped you.
She did.
And next?
And then the other one slapped me. She reached over her shoulder and slapped me.
Okay, on the face.
On the face.
And then?
And then we started to argue, and it was just yelling back and forth. And then the gentleman came out of the vehicle that was parked in that first spot, and he kind of diffused the engagement. And that's when she told me, just leave, leave. I felt safe enough to turn at that point, and I went and put my cat back in the car. And that's when the lady in the blue ran behind my car, said, don't let him leave, don't let him leave. Ran behind my car and placed her body on my car.
And?
And then that's when I told her, I says, you can't keep me, you can't detain me here. I'm going to take my cat to someplace where I can get him some medical. And I moved her away from my car.
How did you move her away?
With my hands.
So you...
Open hands.
Okay.
That's when she turned and struck me with her fist, broke my glasses, gave me a black eye. I was defending myself at that point. I had my hands up. I'm all cut up on this. And then that's when I finally grabbed her by her hair and pulled her off of me.
Which one did you grab by the hair?
The brunette.
What was he saying to you?
I don't remember exactly what he was saying. It was really scary, that's all I know.
John Wheat claims vet assistants Heather Schilling and Hannah Hensley owe for damages after he was assaulted in the parking lot.
Okay, now prior to her going behind your car, you had no physical interaction with her.
Other than her hitting me.
She slapped you.
Correct.
Okay, got it. Okay, Miss Hensley, you came out at some point.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do for the vet?
I am a vet assistant.
And how long have you worked for the vet?
Like a year and a half.
So you've been working for the vet all during COVID?
Yes.
Is this the first incident that you had while you've been working at this vet?
Yes.
How long have you been working at the vet?
10 years now.
Have you ever had another incident like this, either during COVID or before?
Not like this, Your Honor. I've had to call the police before. We've had threats. We've had people shouting. Of course, animals bring out emotions, but never has anything ever been physical.
Did you know Mr. Wheat from prior visits with other cats?
I did not. I do know that we had seen one cat once before, and that actually was during COVID.
During COVID?
Yes.
So you checked, and it was the same COVID protocol?
Yes.
Leaving one?
We've had the same protocol since COVID started.
Okay. So the last time you took a cat there, you were familiar with the COVID protocol. Though, just think about what you're saying to me.
Okay.
The last time you took a cat there was during COVID, so you were familiar with the COVID protocol.
I believe I might have called before I went there.
And you waited in the parking lot. Somebody came out, took the cat inside.
I believe so.
And that's the protocol. And the reason that you didn't do that this time is because you felt as if it was an emergency.
Yeah, I was not aware of any protocol.
Yes, you were.
No.
Oh, yes, of course you were. Of course you were aware of a protocol, sir. The woman outside told you that there was a protocol. She said you have to call first. And she was speaking to somebody out in the parking lot. You know, you've had animals for a long time. When I go to the vet, there usually isn't somebody out in the parking lot. So you know that there's a protocol because you know that somebody else was out there talking to a patient and said to you, you have to call first.
After, yes.
And said to you, you have to call first. Okay. Now, you want to tell me what happened when you first interacted with him?
Yes, so he was sitting outside, and so I went out and told him that he would have to call to check in, that we were curbside, and he said that he wasn't calling anybody. And I told him that I was very sorry, that I wanted to see a doctor then. And I was like, we cannot do that. And so then I asked him, did he have an appointment with us? Like, what's the cat's name? I'm not even sure, what we're dealing with here. I need to get an idea of what we're dealing with. And I think he said the names. The cat was Pebbles. I don't even know. I'm not sure. But I asked if we had an appointment. He said no. And then I asked him what was wrong. And he said, the cat's bleeding out. She's dying. Something along the lines of that. Screamed at my face. And so I said, sir, I'm so sorry. You need to go to an emergency clinic. We don't have a vet today. And so then he started screaming in my face, got up, screaming in my face.
Was there a vet there that
No,
day?
we were doing tech appointments that day. So just like nail trims, things like that, things that we can do without doctor.
So there was no vet there?
Yeah, there was no vet.
So you told Kim you have to go to an emergency room?
Yes.
And when you said there was some shouting, what was he saying to you?
He was basically saying...
No, not basically.
It happened a long time ago, so honestly, I don't remember the exact words.
Okay, so you don't remember exactly what he said to you. He was angry. Okay, he sort of acknowledges that he was angry. Then what happened?
I'm sorry, it's a lot. Reliving it. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. He started screaming in my face that we weren't helping and that he would be leaving, but he just was still screaming in my face. And I don't even remember, I'm so sorry. I don't remember exactly what he was saying.
Just take a minute.
It was really scary, that's all I know. And I told him that he needed to leave and he wasn't, and that's when Heather finally came out and told him that he needed to leave. She got in between us and was like, "Sir, you need to leave now." And she just kept saying, "You need to leave now." And he kept screaming in our faces, and she was like, "I'm not gonna have you screaming at my girls." That's what he's referring to when she got into his face. She said she did step into his face to push him away because he needed to leave. And she said, "You're not gonna be screaming at my girls." He still was being belligerent, not leaving.
At that point, that's when he spit in my face, and that's what caused me to shove him.
And then he grabbed.
When you said, so we'll stop for a second, you came outside because you heard an altercation outside.
Yes.
Tell me what happened when you came outside.
I was not going to have him talking to my girls like that. That wasn't appropriate. He needed to leave. And he was still shouting, and then that's when he spit in my face. And then I did push him away to get back from me, and he stepped forward. I did smack him with an open hand, and then he pushed me. And what he's leaving out is he actually grabbed my scrub top, and he was pulling on my scrub top. And that's why Hannah had stepped back in. She tried to get his arm off, which probably is where the scratches came from. And he grabbed her scrub top at the same time. So there was more contact than...
Where was the cat?
The cat was actually behind me. He had left the cat there.
Sounds like a little bit more, Mr. Wheat, than what you told me in your narrative.
They're lying. First off, she said that when she just admitted to the fact that she told me that I needed to call. And that's what the first thing I said when I came and pulled up is that the person that I met outside at the very beginning told me that I needed to call.
Yes.
And she just said that she told me I needed to call. There would have been no reason for the second person to come out and tell me that I needed to call. At that point, they came out and told me, asked me if I had an appointment, and I said no, that it was an emergency. And I had my cat the entire time with me until I put him down in order to push her off of me. That's the only time I put my cat down, and he was next to me the whole time. I would not have left my cat between her and me.
Mr. Wheat, these people have been in business for a very long time. Is it just possible, sir, that because of the circumstances, and you were there with a cat who was bleeding out, that you were high energy and maybe not totally composed? I mean, I have two people work here, at least one who's worked for the same vet for 10 years. You've used this vet before. You haven't had problem with this vet before, and she's been there 10 years. And I assume that, at least she tells me, she's never had an incident like this before. So I can actually imagine, I'm trying to put myself here, somebody comes out and says to you, "We don't have a vet on duty," which you probably didn't believe at the moment.
No, I did.
Well, if you believed that there was no vet on duty, why didn't you just walk into your car? Why did you say anything to her? Why did you use an expletive? Why was there any need to have any communication at all with her? If there's no vet here, okay, I better get my animal too.
Well, Your Honor, when I first pulled in and I had that conversation with whoever that worked there, and I'll use that term loosely, whoever, they knew...
No vet inside by the first person that you encountered.
No, that's wrong.
No, I was absolutely right, sir, in what I said to you. So say yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Right.
John Wheat has accused vet assistants Heather Schilling and Hannah Hensley of injuring him after an assault in the parking lot.
Go ahead.
I explained that it was an emergency.
Just a second. The person that you were talking to, you just told me, was dealing with another client who had another animal out in the parking lot.
And I told him that it was an emergency.
Okay. Well, one man's emergency is not. How's the cat?
Now?
Yes.
The cat's fine from that injury, but he's blind now.
Well, fine from that. Did you get the cat to a vet?
I did.
How far away?
20 minutes.
And what did they do to the cat?
Clean and sutured.
And you took him home?
I did.
And you took him the same day?
I did. Yes.
And when you went to the second vet, it was an emergency vet?
It was.
Okay. Did they have a curbside arrangement
No.
there? They did not?
No.
Had you called them if
No.
you drove? Well, you mean you drove 20 minutes not knowing if they could get to see a vet?
They're open.
How do you know?
I've been there many times.
Mr. Wheat, do you think that I think that you drove with your cat without calling first to see if they were open and a vet there when they had already told you that their vet wasn't there? Why would I get in the car? I wouldn't at least make a
The
call.
only other vet that's available right there.
Well, how do you know that that vet was available?
I've never been there where they've not.
You have any medical records for me to see of your injuries? I'd like to see
My
them.
injuries?
Yeah.
No.
Well, I'd like to see them.
I have pictures of my injuries.
I'd like to see that. Miss Schilling said that you spit in her face. Is that true?
That's not true. You're not. I don't have any lower teeth. When she was in my face yelling at me, and I was yelling back at her, that's when she made that accusation.
It was more than just a little bit of spittle, Your Honor.
It was what?
More than just a little bit of spittle, Your Honor.
He full on spit.
Okay. Do you have a police report?
I do.
I'd like to take a look at it. Report indicates that they were called. I assume they were called by you?
Yes.
Because they responded to their location. And the police officer observed red marks on her neck and her hair falling out of her head.
I do have pictures as well, Your Honor.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I pulled her off of me.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I got all those scratches in my black eye.
I'd like to see the defendant's photographs.
Okay.
Mr. Wheat, I've read the police report, I've looked at your pictures, and can I see the pictures from the defendants? I do not have a cross complaint. Your answer, Ms. Schilling and Ms. Hensley, both indicate this was a terrible incident and you just wanted to go away.
Yes, Your Honor.
You too. You too.
I did call the police.
You too.
I called the police before they called.
You too. Mr. Wheat, you know, there are certain things that are common sense. And the common sense of it is you were upset, you were aggravated, you were angry, you were not getting what you needed. You were not told that there was no vet inside by the first person that you encountered. So
No,
you
wrong.
Well,
I wasn't told until after the second person came.
I said, no, I was absolutely right, sir, in what I said to you. I said you were not told by the first person that you encountered that there was no vet inside. So say yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. It wasn't until Miss Hensley came outside that she told you that there was no vet inside. That is correct, ma'am.
That is correct.
Right. Now, in between that time, according to you, you sat outside for 5 minutes.
That's correct.
You sat outside for 5 minutes and you did not do what you were instructed to do by the person who was outside taking care of another animal. And they said, you have to call first. You said, you're right here. Why can't you tell them? That's what you just told me. Is that correct?
As soon as I finished with the conversation about them calling, they left me and went inside.
That's okay. You did not call. And you sat there on the cement, according to you, and waited. Then she came outside and told you there's no vet.
That's correct.
Okay. And by that time, you were very angry because now you had a cat that was sick. Oh, yes, absolutely. It says so in the police report that that's what you said. You was the defendant to you. But you say you were belligerent and you were angry.
Yes.
And you honestly said that to me.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. You didn't act smart. If I had my animal that was bleeding to the vet and they said call, I would have called. And if I didn't call and if I waited outside and somebody came outside and said to me, the vet's not here, all I would have said is, why didn't somebody tell me that before? Because I waited out here for 5 minutes, even though I didn't do what I was told to do, which was to call first and check in. Do you understand? Your case is dismissed. We're done.
This court is adjourned.
Obviously, I have to stand by what she said.
I think that it was very fair. I think that she saw that he was an angry man who was upset about his cat.
They were the aggressor to me.
As soon as he was screaming and yelling, I think that that was the line.
I was holding up my hand trying to protect myself from her. She hit me, broke my glass, and gave me a black eye.
The sooner that you leave, the sooner you can get your cat treatment.
I was upset at some point, I would have to say. That's true.
Pretty bad. I've been having issues like working with people coming up to the door.
Cat survived.
He is not welcome. The police did place a no trespass, and that was honestly our goal. We just didn't want him to come back.
You know, people get really upset when their pets are injured and they can't get immediate care. It's not quite as acute probably as when your child is sick and you take them to the emergency room and there are 500 people in the emergency room, but your child has a sore arm. You don't know if it's broken or not, you know, and you're agitated. He was clearly agitated, agitated and angry. Actually, I sympathized with him. You know, the first person could have said to him, we have no vet. If it's an emergency, go someplace else. Didn't. And then he sat and waited. And as he sat and waited, got angrier and angrier. And then we have no vet. You have to go someplace else. Bottom line, it was all a bad scene. But it was a bad scene precipitated by him.
Yeah, just listening to his story, I could tell the agitation level just as he's waiting and not getting info. Right. You could tell. And like you said, sympathize with it.
Unfortunate. I think the defendants actually were interesting that they didn't file a counterclaim.
I also was surprised by
because
that.
they had, one of them, the young woman, had some serious injuries, pulled her hair out. She gets
18-year-old son hit Dean's car.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case 2076, Miller versus Pena.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Pena, is that your son?
Yes, it is.
The one who was driving the car?
Yes.
Okay, good. You stand up next to your father. Mr. Miller, is your claim that the defendant's son hit your car that was parked in a parking lot?
Yes, Your Honor.
And it was parked in the parking lot of a high school?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you work in that high school?
Yes.
As what?
I'm a teacher.
What do you teach?
I teach what's called on-site continuation. It's a continuation classroom for 10th through 12th grade students.
Do you go to that school?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. On what date did you park your car when you allege it was hit?
I was on March 8th, Your Honor.
You were in school that day?
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, you should know that in reviewing this case, Mr. Miller, because he was not there when his car was hit.
Correct.
Correct? And so he alleges that it was you who hit his car and then left the scene. Before you answer my questions, I'm going to tell you that Mr. Miller has a video that he says was taken by school cameras that were zoned onto the parking lot that demonstrates that you actually did hit his car and leave. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
So now we're going to go back to March 8th, and you're going to tell me what happened with Mr. Miller's car.
So I drive myself to school every day, or at the time I was driving myself to school because that was my only way of getting to school.
Did you have a driver's license?
At the time, no, I did not have a driver's license.
So you were driving a car without a driver's license?
Yes, Your Honor.
And what kind of a car were you driving?
It was a 1991 Camaro.
Where did you get the car from?
Me and my dad had gone off the street. It was a project car.
How old are you?
In February of last year.
And you didn't pass it?
No.
Did you take the written test?
No.
What did you take in February?
The practical test.
Just the practical test, the driving test?
Yes.
And you failed that?
Yes.
So despite the fact that you failed that, you drove the car, and your father knew that you were driving the car without a license? That's a yes or a no?
Yes.
Was there insurance on this car, Mr. Pena?
No, there wasn't.
So no insurance, no license. So far, not good parenting. You understand that, Mr. Pena?
Yes.
Great. Okay, so you drove yourself to school and?
There's a parking lot that all the students, teachers, anyone who goes to school, really, they can park
Yes, nobody suggests you were trespassing in a place you weren't supposed to be.
Yeah, so every morning I would park in...
Not everyone, look at me. That day, Mr. Miller's car.
Yes, Your Honor. That day, March 8th, I came to school as usual and I parked in my area, and then one of the on-school deputies that the school has,
Miller's car.
Oh, nothing happened with Mr. Miller's car.
So what you're telling me is that you did not hit Mr. Miller's car. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, Your Honor.
What car were you driving that day?
1991 Camaro.
What color is it?
Red.
How long have you been going to that school?
It's my 4th year going.
How many other people drive a 1991 Camaro? Red. Nobody.
Nobody.
And so I'm going to watch this video. Sarah, do we have the video?
I have it. So, there. Wait, you'll see it.
Okay. You had a truck?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, so there's no question you hit the truck. Do you want me to show you the video?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Well, if you don't want to see the video, that's because you told me a lie. The truck moved as you were pulling in. Have they shown you the video, Mr. Pena?
They showed me a different version of that video.
Well, I've just seen the version that I saw. Got it?
Yes, Your Honor.
Saw the truck move, did you?
Yes, it did.
When you were pulling in next to it?
Yes, I was.
When you were pulling in next to it? So that didn't happen because there was an earthquake. That happened because you hit the truck.
Yes, Your Honor.
Fine. Now we understand each other, Mr. Pena?
Yes.
Great. That's a yes. Okay. Can I see pictures of your truck, please, and the estimate to repair it?
Yes, Your Honor.
Have you seen the photographs?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Totally consistent, right? Okay. Mr. Miller, you're from California?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you regularly teach today?
Yes.
So you had to take a day off.
Yes, I have a substitute today.
Paid for those days?
I get compensated because I have sick days or personal necessity days.
The reason I'm asking you these questions, Mr. Miller, because it's no question that you are entitled to have your car fixed. But that's, to me, even though that's all you're requesting, I think the fact that Mr. Pena allowed his son to drive a car without insurance and without a license, not only without a license, but knowing that his son took a driving test the month before and failed it, which means that he was not a good driver, not a good enough driver to get a driver's license. And I have a lot of people in my family that don't drive well, that I don't like to be in the car with, but they all have driver's licenses because they managed to pass a driving test. So I know that you are only requesting the $1,524. Mr. Pena saying to you, I'm sorry, my son hit your car. Because either his son lied to him.
Your Honor, can I say something?
Either his son lied to him, or his son told him the truth, but he lied to me. And he's the grown-up. He set an example for his son that said it's okay to break the law. Not only for you, because you take the car to school. Take the car to school, even though you failed. Take the car to school. It has no insurance. If you hit somebody in that car and you seriously injure them, that car has no insurance. Car has no insurance. He has nothing to lose. Car has no insurance, but the person who he hit, person whose property he may have destroyed, they have no recourse. You understand, sir? That's a bad parental example. You want to say something to me or not?
Yes, I do.
I don't care that you didn't like it. That's not, as a parent, the lesson you should be teaching. And whether or not you like the way the sheriff spoke to him, that is totally irrelevant to me.
Later.
I paid as much as I could supporting him. I wasn't getting paid.
Dean Miller claimed.
Go ahead.
My thing I didn't like was how he got approached.
I don't care whether you like it or not.
That's what I didn't like.
I don't care whether you like it or not. Did your son come home from school that day and say, I hit somebody's car?
No, he didn't.
No, he didn't.
Nowhere.
And just a second. And when you asked him whether he hit somebody's car, what did he tell you? Just be careful.
He said, I think. He felt intimidated
just a second.
by
I think.
The sheriff and him.
I don't care that you didn't like it. That's not, as a parent, that's not, as a parent, the lesson you should be teaching. First of all, you allowed your son to violate the law. You allowed it. And then, I mean, I would certainly know whether I caused that much damage. He knew the official spoke to him, or the sheriff spoke to him. That is totally irrelevant to me. That shouldn't be the takeaway from this. The takeaway from this is you're supposed to follow the rules. The rules are meant for everybody, and that includes you and your kid. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,500. We're finished here.
This court is adjourned.
Police officer came behind me when I parked and accusing me that I'd hit someone.
The school deputy saw the video, knew the car, so he approached the student.
The person who I supposedly hit came out with a megaphone yelling at me.
There is no megaphone, so I don't know where that came from.
Telling me that I'd hit him. So I was kind of like freaking out. I didn't really know what to think.
If it happened to me, he could hit someone else. And
I didn't know I hit your car. Like, did I hit your car? Like, I didn't even know what to think. I could have sworn I did not.
This was fortunate that it was just a parked car in a parking lot.
It is time to get his license, yes, that is correct.
It is time to get the car fixed and just get some closure on this.
In our family, we would call that contact a love tap. And as someone who has had a few hit a stationary object, even if it's just a light little love tap. So I just thought it was outrageous that the defendants, father and son, they knew that there was a video and still took the position of, nope.
Well, his father's position was, I didn't like the way they spoke to my son, and therefore I'm not responsible. They shouldn't have spoken to him. I mean, he's 17 years old, but he looks like a man. He's taller than his father, you know.
You have to take responsibility.
But you have to take responsibility and not drive a car, especially. You failed a driving test. The most basic thing. I mean, you know, we have
I will
people...
say, I did pass on the first try, so...
Yes, but we have people in our family who actually did not.
Okay, yes.
And they didn't drive, and they didn't drive a car. Yeah. Until they could pass a driving test.
And their parents were the first ones to say, no. No shot until you pass that test.
Absolutely.
So parents...